Mayor, members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed and recorded.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. The meeting will now reconvene at 6:10 p.m. City Attorney, please provide the closed session report.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the item listed on the agenda. Staff provided a report for the item, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, City Attorney. If there's no objection by City Council, I will now adjourn the closed session City Council meeting at 6:10 p.m. And I'd like to welcome everybody to the July 28, 2025, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council, successor agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:11 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any member of the council should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you are recusing yourself from due to the conflict prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by Pastor Leal, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our city manager, Michael O'Kelly.
Good evening, Mayor, and all the councilmen and the councilwomen, our city manager, our attorney, our chief, and all the great staff that make the city work. Also, our citizens are here. Let us come to our feet and let us bow our heads as we pray. We know that we enter into the presence of God, and let us invite him to be in this meeting. Father, we want to thank you for our city, for our leaders, for the staff. Father, as we get going with this meeting, we want to invite you to be with us. May you guide our leaders with wisdom, with grace. May your presence be here. And Father, may you give peace to each one of our citizens, that we know that you take care of us, Father. We ask this in the precious name of Jesus. And can we say amen? Thank you.
So much for that. City Clerk, please call the roll of the City Council.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the council and successor agency, Barcena. Councilwoman Guillen.
Present.
And if there's no objection, Councilwoman Sanchez will be excused. Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa
Present.
and Mayor Chavez.
Present. Thank you for that, City Clerk. We will now move on to presentation. City Manager, please introduce the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Chavez. The first presentation we have is a certificate of recognition for Premier Fiesta Mexicana. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to ask the recipient who's present here. I've been in contact with Janet, if she's present, to come to the podium. And I do want to present that we're going to have a certificate on behalf of the city to Premier Fiesta Mexicana. And I want to go ahead and read it. And then from there, I'll allow you to speak. And then from there, my colleagues to speak. And then we'll take a picture after. Okay, so as it states, City of Bell Garden Certificate of Recognition honoring Premier Fiesta Mexicana in recognition of over 3 decades of cultural celebration, community connection, and exceptional entertainment. This certificate honors Premier Fiesta Mexicana, a cherished establishment founded by the Cepeda family in 1993. From its humble beginnings, Premier Fiesta Mexicana has grown into a beloved family restaurant and entertainment venue that brings the heart of Mexicana culture, Mexican culture to life. With live mariachi, talented imitators, vibrant dancers, and unforgettable DJ sets featuring the best in Spanish music, it has become a cornerstone of lively, authentic nightlife and dining. Beyond the food and festivities, Premier Fiesta Mexicana holds a unique place in cinematic history. Its parking lot was featured in the critically acclaimed film A Better Life in 2011, directed by Chris Witz. This recognition further highlights the cultural significance and character of the venue. Your unwavering dedication to excellence and celebration of Mexican heritage continues to inspire and unite generations. Signed, Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, along with the Bell Garden City Council, this July 28th, 2025. Right? And if Janet can go ahead and bless us with some words.
Muchas gracias. Es un placer haber trabajado y seguir trabajando con ustedes desde hace ya 32 años. Y
It is an
Estamos muy
honor to have
gustosos.
worked with you for over
Cida de
30
verdad que
years.
ha
This is,
crecido mucho, ha estado mejor
we're
desde
very
que llegamos.
glad to see
Ha
that the city
crecido,
has
ha sido mejor. Nosotros
grown, has
tratamos de dar trabajo también a la
improved has,
gente que
since we
tenemos
got
aquí
here.
viviendo y
This is very
generalmente nos
important to the
gusta
people
que
who
sea
live
un
here.
lugar completamente
And
familiar. Y
we are proud
todo
to
el
have
equipo,
a
desde
place that
meseras,
is really
cocineras,
completely
bartenders, todos los que
family.
trabajamos lo hacemos
Everyone
con
who works there,
mucho placer
bartenders,
porque es un
waiters,
lugar
everyone
completamente familiar, que
work
hay pocos y ustedes
with
han permitido
pleasure
que nosotros
because it
podamos
is really
seguir
a family
laborar en
place.
este lugar. Muchas
And
gracias a la ciudad
we
de Bell
thank
Gardens porque nos ha hecho
the
mucho
city
más.
for the support it's given
Muchas
us
gracias. ¿Y nos puede decir con quién está
and
acompañado?
for
Claro que
allowing
sí,
us
él es
to
mi hijo,
flourish.
Ulises
And who
Cepeda,
is with you?
y
This
es
is my son, William Cepeda.
miembro de lo que es
He
Premier.
is a member
¿Quiere decir
of
unas palabras?
Premier.
Please.
Would you like to say some words as well?
Thank you. Premier Fiesta
Gra-
Mexicana appreciates everything you've done. This recognition, from our bar staff to our kitchen staff to our administration. We truly appreciate everything that you've done for the city and for us as well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here in the city. I want to open it up to my colleagues if they'd like to share some words. Premier Fiesta Mexicana is obviously a cornerstone here in our city. So esta sería la oportunidad para que mis colegas también puedan decir unas palabras.
Solo les quiero agradecer por estar aquí tantos años en nuestra comunidad, brindándonos alegría y cultura. Gracias.
3 décadas. Felicidades a la familia Cepeda. El Premier es un lugar muy único en nuestra comunidad y ustedes nos brindan esa alegría, ¿verdad? Y también ese orgullo en nuestra comunidad. Me acuerdo cuando primero vi la película Una vida mejor. O sea, la manera en que esa escena, aunque sea una porción pequeña en la película, es muy impactadora para uno como residente, ¿no? Ver que un lugar, o sea, clave en la ciudad está siendo, pues, ah, puesta en la pantalla grande, ¿no? Así que es un lugar que me da mucho orgullo y espero visitar muy pronto. No he tenido el placer de ir allí. Mis papás sí han ido varias veces, pero creo que ya me toca a mí ir. Gracias. Felicidades.
Gracias por traer ese elemento de cultura a nuestra comunidad y espero que no pare aquí, que vengan muchas décadas del Premier aquí en la ciudad de Vergara. Gracias.
Por último, nomás les quiero agradecer que hayan venido aquí a la ciudad. Yo tomo mucho orgullo de que nuestra comunidad tiene el premier aquí en la ciudad, en esta ciudad de Bell Gardens. Cuando hablamos de sitios de entretenimiento en las áreas del sureste de Los Ángeles, el premier es uno de ellos. Recuerdo que yo estaba trabajando allá en Los Ángeles como por Pico Union con trabajadores en mi sindicato y recuerdo que me invitaron. Dijeron, oh, ¿sabes que vamos a ir a tu ciudad? Le dije, ¿a dónde? ¿O qué está pasando de actividad de noche, por decir? Y dijeron, vamos a ir al Premier a bailar. Y yo lo tomé como diciendo, wow, like, no sabía que la gente desde allá también vienen hasta el sureste aquí en Bell Garden. Y también que también eran centroamericanos también, no nomás eran mexicanos, que, aquí obviamente en el nombre es Premier Fiesta Mexicana. Me da tanto orgullo tenerlos aquí en la ciudad. Y pues que cuando hablamos de las joyas, ustedes ahí están mero también enfrente. Al entrar a la ciudad de la Florence y la Eastern, después bajando desde el 7 Freeway, la primera cosa que uno ve es el Premier, el casino que tenemos también. Yo cuando era niño, cuando pasaba allí por la Eastern, yo siempre pensaba que las pantallas eran en vivo que no eran grabadas lo que estaba enseñando. Y pues una vez pues recientemente fui por primera vez y al último año y dije, oh, wow, no es lo que está en la pantalla. Pero sí, sí, pues la inocencia que uno piensa cuando está niño. Y de nuevo, nomás le doy gracias y le doy gracias a todos los que trabajan allí por de nuevo traer por estar aquí por tantos años y espero que más décadas todavía estén aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens. Y lo que podamos hacer como concilio, es un sitio grande, que puede ser un espacio, a lo mejor podemos tener un evento como ciudad ahí, cuando hablamos de diferentes organizaciones que vienen a Los Ángeles, mundial, internacional, nacional, cuando queramos traerlos a un espacio de entretenimiento, que queremos enseñar lo que Bell Gardens ofrece, qué mejor que el Premier Fiesta Mexicana, que hay entretenimiento, que hay comida, que hay un buen ambiente. Esa sería una idea buena. Yeah. Gracias. Bueno, if there's no more comments, I'll go ahead and invite everybody to take a picture. Gracias. Y también, si quieren invitar a todos los que trabajan ahí, también aquí nos podemos tomar una foto. Gracias. All right. Thank you so much. City Manager, next presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. Not unlike the last presentation, the next presentation is a certificate of recognition for a City of Bell Gardens mainstay, George Suarez. I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor.
Mr. George Suarez, are you here in the audience? If you could do us the honor and come over here to the podium, and thank you for the many years of service to our community. I have here a certificate of recognition for you, Mr. George Suarez. I'm pretty sure you have many of these already from the City of Bell Gardens, and I want to just before I read it, I just want to say thank you for your countless decades of service to our community, to our residents, to our neighbors. You've seen people come and go. You've seen countless mayors and council members here. And I just want to say, when we talk about exemplary service to the city, as a staff member, I mean, 39 years, that's impressive. So thank you so much. I'll go ahead and read it. City of Bell Gardens Certificate of Recognition honoring George Suarez. In recognition of 39 years of outstanding service and dedication to the community, we honor your exemplary leadership as Building Code Enforcement Supervisor with the Bell Gardens Community Development Department. Throughout your tenure, you have consistently demonstrated exceptional skill, commitment, and professionalism. Your contributions to community engagement and the growth of the department have been invaluable. Your mentorship has guided staff through the complexities of building and safety, business licensing, and code enforcement with clarity, expertise, and dedication. The positive impact of your leadership is deeply felt within the department and among those fortunate enough to work alongside you. We sincerely appreciate your many contributions and unwavering commitment to the City of Bell Gardens. Your presence will be profoundly missed by our community, staff, and leadership. On behalf of the Bell Gardens City Council, we extend our deepest gratitude and wishes for continued success in all your future endeavors. Thank you. Signed, Jorge Chavez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, along with the Bell Gardens City Council, this July 28th, 2025. We could give George Suarez a round of applause. I want to open it up for my colleagues if they want to share any words. Pretty sure we've all interacted with Mr. George Suarez, and I know we've definitely heard from our residents when you've paid them a visit.
I'll start off by saying thank you so much for all your years of service, for being a very righteous man and always being readily available to us, to our staff, to our residents. I know everybody knows you, and you will truly be missed. We love you and appreciate you.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Suarez, for these past 39 years. I first began seeing your name not only in the Planning Commission, but I began seeing it more often when I was canvassing about 4 years ago. Many of these residents always spoke very highly of you, and the resolution process of it all, and it goes to speak how much of an impact your work has been done in the city, and especially over these past 3 decades. So thank you so much for your service, and please enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Mr. George Suarez, I want to thank you for the many years of service that you have provided to our community here in Bell Gardens. And when I say that, I don't mean just thank you for the 39 years. It's 39 years, right? I'm not trying to diminish it, but 39 years is a long time, yet it is not enough, right? You have to not only do 39 years like you did, but you also have to do a good job at it, right? And I think that's what you did. You did a good job. You never took the easy way out. When you had to tell residents, hey, this is violating a certain code, you were accepting that role of being the bad guy because nobody wants to hear that, right? Nobody wants to hear, hey, you're going to have to take off that shade that you put up. Yet you did it because you knew that in the bigger picture, we need these rules. We need to maintain the order so that our city can look beautiful and be safe. And that is a tough job. So I don't know what we're going to do here, but we hope that we have someone that can fill even half of your shoes, because it really has been a long time that you've been of service to the community. And I don't want to make this too long, but I do want to tell everyone here a story. As you know, we are working right now on finishing up one of our biggest projects ever. It's a $38 million aquatics facility, give or take. And when I was a pool manager, it was a very difficult situation to be in because the facility was already dilapidated. It was in really bad shape. And I didn't know who to turn to, right? Certain people were not listening to me. It was really hard to make my voice be heard as a pool manager. So I talked to George and I explained to him, and George came by and he took a look at the pool, and he made the hard decision of making an evaluation and turning in the bad news to the bosses back then, right? And because of that, it created action. It created a movement in the right direction. We prioritized that facility, and now we're here. And thanks to George and his courage and his work ethic, I think that has a big influence in what we're about to do now, which is later this year, we're going to be opening that facility. So I want to thank you, George, for being part of the history of Bell Gardens in so many different ways. And I'm very grateful for that. And I hope that you have an amazing retirement. And again, we'll always remember you. You'll always have a home here in the city of Bell Gardens.
I appreciate the comments Councilmember Barcena mentioned, and I mean, just goes to show the impact and the magnitude you've had here in our city. And I did a quick math thing right here. So I did 2025 minus 39. You've been here since 1986. So that's again phenomenal. I mean, that's close to four decades, and just again, really appreciate all the service to the city. And I'll go ahead and please share with us some of your words.
Thank you. I'll make this short. It seems like just yesterday I was here receiving the recognition award. And it was. It's a tough decision, but it had to be made. I want to thank the mayor, city council, our administrative staff for their support. Support always, even through some of the most difficult times. They've realized the importance of my work ethics and morals, and my concern for the safety, not only of liability towards the city, but of the community in general. So with that, I'll make it short. Again, I thank everybody here. I thank our staff, those that showed up as support. Again, it's very difficult decision, but I think it's the right decision to make, and I'll always be available. All those that I give you my personal cell phone number, but I don't know that I want to do that now. But others that have it, please don't hesitate. I'll be more than glad to help out in any which way I can. And again, I thank the city for, I've been here longer than, or half my age. I was doing the math, Mayor, the other day going, oh my gosh, another 24 years and geez, 40 years. Wow. But it's been a pleasure. It's been great serving the community, and again, always having the community's best interest in mind. I leave it that way. Thank you.
All right, without further ado, let's take this picture. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We'll move on to item 6, public participation on non-agenda items. City Clerk, please announce the instructions.
I apologize. If you could just hold for 1 second. I think I got locked out. Okay, thank you. So the members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period unless announced otherwise. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will first hear from speakers that are in person. We received 7 written comments and they have been provided to the full council.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. I'd like to call up Mateo Gil.
Hello, hello. Hello, honorable city council members. My name is Mateo Gil. I'm an organizer with East Yards Communities for Environmental Justice. We're an organization that essentially focuses on healthy communities in Sela. And I'm here today to ask y'all to pass a state of emergency, considering the current situation that we're in concerning ICE and the kidnappings. A lot of our vulnerable community members are at risk every day. We're talking about tenants, we're talking about business owners, and the population at large. And it's a big concern for the local economy, for the local community in order to thrive. That's why we need strong tenant protections. That's why we need strong protections for commercial residents and more policies to protect the community. If we want to preserve the community the way it is now, which I believe a lot of folks here do, I believe that as city council members that you believe and want to make a difference in the community. So I believe it is important that we come together and find a solution and work together during these very dark times. So we're here today to ask y'all to, pass a state of emergency, and in addition to pass more policies to really show up and be there for the community. I know that sometimes it can be scary, right, to do things that we may not feel comfortable with doing. But I believe in, the power of this council. I've seen y'all pass important policies in the past, and I believe y'all can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'd like to call up Wendy Avila Rodriguez.
Hello, everyone. Wendy Avila Rodriguez. I'm with Communities for a Better Environment. And just like, the person before me, was mentioning about the ICE raids, I'm a Maywood resident of Maywood, so I'm right next door. And I've seen firsthand the impacts that ICE has had in our communities, and especially here in Bell Gardens. And I also want to advocate for y'all to protect our, tenants in the city of Bell Gardens, but also small businesses. People might not be vocal about how they're struggling, to make their rent every month. But from what I've seen in my community is that people haven't been showing up to work because they are deeply impacted, and it's valid with reason that folks aren't showing up to work. And with that, people are, struggling to even, feed their families, pay utilities, rent, and everything else. So we want to make sure that the city of Bell Gardens declares a state of emergency, because even if folks aren't, so vocal about their situation, people are struggling in the city of Bell Gardens. And as the raids continue to happen, we don't know how that's, going to impact community even more in the future. So we want to make sure that we protect our residents and folks aren't displaced. We want to make sure our small businesses also aren't struggling. So I urge you to have, tenant protections, put a state of emergency, and figure out a way to protect the tenants and also small businesses in the city of Bell Gardens. And I also want to comment on item number 11.2. I know that this is a non-item section, but I do want to bring light that the use of automated
Sorry.
license plate readers.
You'll have your opportunity at the next one. So if you want to save your time, you can actually speak for agendized public comments. That'll come next.
Okay, sounds good. I'm just opposing it. Just wanted to name that. All right, thank you.
Alrighty then. Next speaker, I'd like to call up Jasmine Gonzalez.
Good evening, council members. My name is Jasmine Gonzalez. I am the Community Stability Organizer over with East Yard Communities for Environmental Justice. We've met before lots of times. Basically, the work that we do revolves around tenants and being able to keep them in their homes. And so today I'm here submitting a public comment urging the council members to declare a state of emergency to protect our community, such as renters, business owners, and the community at large. With the increasing fear of being separated from family, many have begun to experience economic hardships and are worried that they will face eviction. So that is my ask today. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Jasmine. I'd like to call up Veronica Hopes.
Muy buenas tardes damas y caballeros. Mi nombre es Verónica y represento a comunidades.
My
por un
name
ambiente mejor.
is Veronica, and I represent Communities for a Better Environment.
Estamos aquí porque
We are here
las
because
de ICE
the ICE
realmente
raids
están afectando a nuestras
are really
comunidades, han
affecting
sido
our
impactadas
community.
por nuestras
The community
comunidades.
has been impacted,
Sabemos que aquí en la ciudad de Bell Gardens,
and we
más
know
de la
that here
mitad
in Bell
de
Gardens,
aquí de los residentes son inquilinos,
more than half of
los
the
cuales están
residents
siendo
are
muy afectados,
tenants.
están poniendo en riesgo a sus
They're
familias
very
debido a estas
impacted by
redadas.
this.
Y sabemos que ellos van a tener que pagar el
Their
30%
living
de sus
places
ingresos
is threatened by this
familiares en alquiler.
because they're having
Sin
trouble
embargo, con el
paying all
aumento
of their
de las
expenses,
redadas de ICE,
including
las
their rent.
personas no deberían
And
tener que poner en peligro sus vidas y las de sus familiares.
people should not have to be
Para
risking their
conservar su
lives and that
vivienda,
of their
necesitamos
families to
temporalmente
preserve
los detener temporalmente los
their home.
desalojos.
So we are
Y,
asking for protections against evictions,
apoyamos a la ordenanza que
and we
protege
support
a los
the
inquilinos,
ordinance that
que
protects
manteniendo unidos a las familias
tenants
durante estos tiempos de
to be able
crisis.
to keep families
Exigimos
together during
que el
this
ayuntamiento
crisis. And
apruebe de la
we
ordenanza,
demand
apruebe,
that
la ordenanza
the council approve the
para que
ordinance
se limiten los desalojos y la falta de
to
pago de alquiler
limit
para residentes e inquilinos.
evictions for lack of payment
Garantice una
by
salida
tenants,
de protección para inquilinos en el
and
tiempo de
that there
dificultades
be a guarantee of help
económicas
to
y crisis
tenants
comunitarias,
during this time
que
of
apoya a los
economic
inquilinos
crisis
de
and
la clase trabajadora,
an
porque hay
emergency. And an emergency.
que aquí
This,
somos
the majority of
personas que trabajamos
residents here
y
are
que
working
enfrentan
class. We are
la
all
doble
working,
amenaza de
and they are
discriminación racial
facing the double threat of
y el
racial
desplazamiento de
discrimination
comprometerse a mantener nuestras
and
comunidades
displacement.
alejadas y seguras.
We
Porque a
need
través de
to
este
make a
problema de
commitment
ICE
to
se ha
keep
presentado
our
realmente
communities housed and
una
safe,
crisis en esta
because
ciudad.
the ice rates have really caused a crisis here in the city. Thank you.
Gracias. I'd like to call up Marcos Chao.
Marcos Chao.
Buenas tardes, concejales.
Good
Mi nombre es
evening,
Marcos
council
Chan.
members. My name
Quiero
is
darle un
Marcos Chan.
comentario.
I would like to make a
Bueno,
comment.
mi nombre es Marcos Chan, ya dije mi nombre.
My name is Marcos
Presento
Chan. I
un
already said that.
comentario para
I have a comment
exigir a los concejales
demanding
declarar
that
el
you,
estado de
the council
emergencia
members,
para
declare a state of
proteger a
emergency
nuestra
to protect
comunidad,
our community,
incluyendo inquilinos,
including
dueños de negocio y en la
tenants,
comunidad
business
en
owners
general.
here, and
Gracias.
the community in general. Thank you.
Gracias. I'd like to call up Maria Padilla.
María Padilla.
Buenas tardes, señor alcalde.
Good
señores
evening,
concejales,
Mr. Mayor,
señora
council
administrador, jefe de
members,
policía y todos los presentes. Mi
chief,
nombre es
city
María
manager, and
Padilla.
everyone here
En
present.
esta
My name
tarde
is
estoy
Maria
aquí
Padilla.
para
This evening, I'm
pedirles
here to ask
que declaren
you
un
to
estado de
declare
emergencia para
a state of
proteger nuestra
emergency
comunidad.
to protect our
Esto que
community.
está pasando
What is
está
happening
impactando
now
fuertemente a nuestra
is
comunidad,
impacting
ya que afecta
the
la
community
economía no solamente de
very much,
nuestros vecinos, de
not
nuestra
just our
comunidad, sino también
neighbors
de
in the
los
community,
negocios. En
but
mi comentario
also
personal,
businesses.
mi
I want to
esposo
tell a
trabaja en una
personal story.
fábrica, es
My
operador de una
husband
máquina
works
donde hace
in
papel de
a
baño y
in a
ahorita
factory.
está
He's a
dando
machine
cuatro
operator,
horas de trabajo porque la bodega está
and
llena de mercancía porque no hay ventas. Entonces
he's
esto
only
está
getting 4
afectando a nuestra
hours of work a
comunidad
day
y
because the
está
warehouse is
impactando
full
no
because
nada
they don't
más el
have any
miedo
business.
y la salud mental
This
en
isn't
nuestras
just, it's
familias, nuestros
fear,
jóvenes, en nuestros
mental
niños, de
health,
salir
our families,
a
our
la calle,
kids, everyone
del
is afraid to go out
miedo a
on the
que se encuentre
street
ICE a sus padres,
out of
sino
fear
también
that
el qué va a
ICE
pasar
would
con
find
la
their
renta.
parents, and
Nuevamente,
they're
una vez
also
más, estamos
scared
en esa
about the rent.
disyuntiva como cuando
Once again,
estábamos en la pandemia. Otra vez el
this is
temor
feeling like when
de
we were
ser
in
desalojados.
the
¿Qué
pandemic,
vamos a
the
hacer? ¿Qué va a pasar
fear
el día de la
of being
renta?
evicted.
Y
What are we
estamos
going to do?
sobreviviendo.
How are we going to pay the
Y
rent
eso está pasando en nuestra comunidad.
when we're
Por
barely
eso yo
surviving?
los
This is
invito a
affecting our
ustedes
community.
a
So
que
I
tomen en
ask you
consideración el
to
declarar
take
nuestro
into
estado
account
como
all of
emergencia
this
para que
and
también
declare a
así
state
yo
of
sé que ustedes
emergency.
están trabajando mucho
I
y
know
enviando
that you
recursos
are
a nuestro
working
apoyo.
very hard
Muchas
to
organizaciones están
get
ayudándonos con
resources to the
para la
community. Many
necesidad, con
organizations are
cosas
helping
para la casa, pero
distribute
en la
food
casa
and
pues
other things to the house,
no
but
todos
there's not enough for
calificamos para una
everyone. We
ayuda
don't
económica,
all
sea por donde estamos
qualify
viviendo, sea lo
for
que sea, no todos calificamos.
financial
Ahora,
help
yo sí
because of
les
where we
pido por todo
live
mi
or other things. We
corazón,
don't all
viendo la
qualify.
necesidad,
So I
hablar
ask
con
you
ella
from
que
the bottom
trabajo,
of
que
my
veo con
heart
la
to
comunidad,
look
cómo
at the
están
need,
preocupados, qué va a pasar mañana,
see
qué va a
what the
pasar. Ya,
community
ya
is
resolví
suffering
primero
through, wondering what's
y no
going to
tienen
happen
para la renta.
tomorrow
Entonces sí, yo les pido por
on the
favor
1st of the
que tomen en
month and they
consideración
don't
esto,
have the
porque esto
rent.
es un ataque
Please
frontal
consider
directo
this
a
because
nuestra
this
comunidad
is
inmigrante,
a frontal
una
attack
comunidad que se dedica a
directly
trabajar, que
on
venimos a este
the
país
immigrant
a
community.
salir adelante. Y es una situación muy
Please do
difícil,
this so
por
people
eso
can get
les
ahead,
pido que
can
tomen en
get out of this.
consideración
I
esta
ask you to
petición que venimos hoy
please
este grupo a hacerles a
consider
ustedes.
this
Gracias.
request that we are presenting to you tonight. Thank you.
Gracias. I'd like to call up Maya Herrera.
Maya Herrera.
Maya, thank you.
Hello, my name is Maya. I'm also with CDE Communities for a Better Environment. I am submitting a comment to urge the council members to declare a state of emergency to protect our communities such as renters, business owners, and the community at large. These raids are not just a matter of immigration enforcement, excuse me. They are a direct attack on the stability and well-being of our entire city. Families are living in constant fear, unable to work, and consequently are struggling immensely to pay their rent and keep a roof over their heads. This situation is creating an imminent housing crisis that will lead to widespread displacement and homelessness if not addressed immediately. Declaring a state of emergency would acknowledge the severity of this crisis and provide our city with the necessary tools and resources to protect our most vulnerable residents. We must act proactively to prevent further devastation. Please stand with your constituents and take this vital step to safeguard our community. Thank you for your time and serious consideration of this critical matter.
Thank you for that. City Clerk, I think we have a speaker online as well.
Yes, we have one. Zoom ID, Jazz, if you would please select the microphone icon to unmute yourself. And you may proceed with your comment.
Hi, my name is Jazz. I'm from Southeast LA. Initially, I was going to speak to the other item, but it encompasses pretty much everything. Just in solidarity with CBE and East Yard and the community, please listen to your community. Because as I'm sure you know, Bell Gardens is on the news, right, as one of the targets, primal targets of ICE. So we need to move fast. So I just want to go ahead and say, at least for this item, particular public comment, to act with urgency, because we cannot wait. The community cannot wait. Thank you.
Thank you. Zoom ID Melody Cuevas, if you would please select the microphone icon. Thank you. You may proceed with your comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear you.
Awesome, thank you. My name is Melody, and I'm here with California Latinas for Reproductive Justice. I just wanted to also ask and advocate for a state of emergency. We are currently witnessing a really ongoing crisis, and we can see that our community members are in pain. And while it may not always make headlines, the reality is really undeniable. A lot of people at the moment are being surveilled, detained, and deported. And I ask and urge you to really consider declaring a state of emergency for this community, because at this moment, many people are struggling. A lot of people are afraid of going out. Most people are not being able to make rent. And it's just really harming our communities in ways that we would have never thought possible. I just coming and just having the privilege of working in this community, it's so beautiful, and it just really devastates me to see it really just isolated. There's reports, and there have been so many reports of immigration raids, of sightings, and this just has really terrorized the psyche of our constituents, of your constituents. And I just really, I appreciate the measures, and I hope more measures can be taken into consideration to really protect our immigrant communities. But thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Mayor, members of the council, that was the last comment.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. There's no objection. We will go ahead and close public participation on non-agenda and open public participation on agenda. City Clerk, please announce your instructions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the agenda. Please state your name for the record. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature and select the unmute or microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber, and we did receive 6 written comments that have been provided to the full council.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. I'd like to call up Mateo Gil.
Dear Honorable City Council, I'm here to speak against license plate readers. I want y'all, and if y'all will participate, I want everybody here to close their eyes and imagine you're at Veterans Park. You're just taking a stroll. You hear the families in the distance. You hear the children playing. You hear families everywhere. There seems to be no trouble at all. And everything seems peaceful and okay. And in this world, this is a world where the community has invested in community. The community has invested in housing. The community has invested in jobs. When we invest in more policing and tools for police, we see that this investment doesn't actually protect the community. The community ends up being more afraid, more scared. And if we're learning anything with what's going on with ICE, nobody's really coming out. People are afraid to go to work. People are afraid to just be in the community. What we need is not more investment in policing tools. We need more investment in housing, more investment in mental health resources, more investment in the community. We need to really prevent crime. We need to alter the conditions which create it, not more trauma onto the community. So we ask that the City Council does not adopt an ordinance in support of these license plate readers because they're unnecessary. What we really need is more resources in the community to really help folks and not let them feel afraid. Thank you.
I'd like to call up Francisco Bárcena.
Hello, council members. My name is Francisco Bárcena, and I'm here to share some thoughts regarding automated license plate readers. I urge you to terminate this contract and the use of those. Recently, I have discovered in myself a new degree of emotions. Have any of you guys seen a mother being ripped apart from her son? On social media, there's videos like this going around. And it just made my blood boil. Right now, they're coming for people that are here without documents, but they're also detaining people that look like me. They're coming for the workers. Everyone saw what happened in Ventura County. They came for the workers. They want to put them in detention centers owned by private companies that are being traded on the stock market. They know they want to come for these people because they're hard workers, and they're going to exploit their labor in labor prisons. After they're done with them, they'll come for whoever they can get. They're coming after Latino lawyers, engineers. That's going to break communities. It's going to tear communities apart. The data that is being collected from license plate readers is being shared with ICE. It's making our communities vulnerable. We can't wait for the stuff to hit the fan. We got to act now. and nip it in the bud. Some people may argue that the data is not personally identifiable. But as a software engineer, I've seen how easy it is for these algorithms and this software to create inferences and deduce and have a very high percentage of accuracy in identifying individuals from all this data. I went online and I looked at the log that shows you how this data is being accessed, and it's just a joke. They don't say who's accessing this data. All it has is a user ID. And some of the reasons that are in another column are super vague. One of them said criminal justice. So I urge you to please nip this in the bud. We can't wait any longer. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's call up Jasmine Gonzalez.
Good evening again. My name is Jasmine Gonzalez. And I'd like to say that automatic license plate readers, or ALPRs, pose significant threats to the privacy and civil liberties of all members of our communities, with particularly severe impacts on our immigrant communities. Firstly, ALPRs enable mass surveillance by indiscriminately collecting and storing detailed location data on millions of vehicles, regardless of whether there is any suspicion of wrongdoing. This creates a vast database of our movements, which can reveal sensitive information about our lives, including where we live, work, worship, or seek medical care, and who we associate with. This constant tracking erodes our fundamental rights to privacy and can chill free speech and assembly, as people may fear being monitored for attending protests or community meetings. Secondly, ALPRs are prone to errors and misreads, leading to false positives that can have devastating real-world consequences, including innocent people being stopped at gunpoint or even violently arrested. Disproportionately affects marginalized communities who are already often subjected to heightened scrutiny. Finally, and critically, for our immigrant communities, data collected by local ALPR systems is frequently shared with federal agencies, including Immigration and Customs Enforcement like ICE and Customs and Border Protection, CBP. This means that routine drives to work, school, or the grocery store can be used to track, target, and deport individuals without legal status, circumventing local sanctuary policies and undermining trust between immigrant communities and local law enforcement. It effectively turns local police into an extension of federal immigration enforcement, creating a climate of fear and making it harder for immigrant residents to feel safe, supporting crimes, or engaging with community services. For these reasons, the expansion of ALPR technology is a step backward for privacy, civil liberties, and community trust. We must advocate for strict regulations, transparency, and limitations on ALPR use, and crucially for policies that explicitly prohibit the sharing of this sensitive data with immigration enforcement agencies. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I'd like to call up Maria Padilla.
Bueno, mi nombre es María Padilla. Estoy aquí para.
My name is Maria Padilla. I'm here to talk a little bit about item 11.2, the license plate readers. I know that it is an important tool for the police to find cars that are stolen or other things that are important, but I want to think a little bit farther ahead. Right now, the situation we're going through is that people are scared. and they're scared to get on the bus, or they use the bus because they don't have a car, but then we give rides to people and we use our private cars. And when I see the reports, they say that ICE has scanned photos and they have access to the license plates of 3 out of 4 adults, and they track movements with these license readers out of 3 out of 4 adults. And these are statistics, they're not made up. And where are we going? I know there are rules regarding certain things like this, but we are seeing right now that laws are not being followed, because it says you were only supposed to be detained if there is a warrant, and they're not respecting that law. I know that these readers are an important tool for the police, but it is also a double-edged sword for us that is harming the community. So I ask you to make the best decision for what will be best for the community. I know that the council has been looking out for our welfare. You've been trying to protect us. And I know that right now, this may be the moment to do something to recognize that this is a very bad time to be tracking the movements of cars. Right now, I'm afraid to go out in my car. I'm afraid to drive. I'm afraid to take someone to the doctor. This is just creating chaos. So I ask that you consider carefully this item about automated plate readers, because this can be very damaging to the community. Thank you. Grace Salcedo.
Hi, good evening. I accidentally wanted to speak on 2 items, general comment and the 11.2. Am I able to do it now?
In this
I
case,
filled out 1 card instead of 2. I
yeah, if
apologize.
anything, what we can do is we'll go ahead and you can give your comment on this item, the agenda item, and then after the public comment on agenda items, I'll go back to non-agenda, and then you'll come back to speak on it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much. Well, I did want to speak on agenda item 11.2. My name is Grace Estrella. I'm with Communities for a Better Environment. We work with all the communities in Sela and LA County. And the reason why I'm here today is the general item and then also this item, which deals with the use of automated license plate readers by the Bell Garden City Police Department. And I know the intent of the police department is not to utilize this information to harm the community. I know that's not your intention. But once this would be in place, there's nothing to stop federal agencies from requesting that data from you, and you can't decline it. And there's going to be a severe impact on our community, which does have a lot of mixed status individuals, and we just feel it's a huge burden that you can stop now, and we just ask that you please not continue use or utilize them in the future to help protect the safety of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I'd like to call up Wendy Avila.
Yes, I just want to talk about the automated license plate readers as well, item 11.2. Yeah, I think like when we think about like safety, it looks different for everyone, right? Especially right now in these times, safety looks really different for a lot of our community members, and I think that this tool can really be detrimental, right? And in many forms. So yeah, I just want to make sure that if there's a contract that y'all have with this system, please don't continue it, and if there's any plans to expand it or implement it in the future, just to think about safety for folks and what that really means. And it's definitely not a tool that reads license plates and creates a database that can be shared and to further target community members. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. There's no objection by the members. I will close public
We
participation.
have one hand raised
Oh.
virtually.
Thank you for that.
Zoom ID Jazz, if you would please select your microphone icon and you may proceed with your comment.
Did you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you now.
Okay, hello, this is Jazz again, resident of Stella and member of the Community Self-Defense Coalition and California Latinas for Reproductive Justice. As I'm sure you know, ICE and Border Patrol use the automated license plate readers to illegally track, detain, and deport community members. Just wanted to say that we, the community, demand that Bell Garden City Council ends its current ALPR contract now to protect the residents all across Stella. With that, Bell Garden sí, Stella no. ICE no. Gracias.
Okay, thank you. Zoom ID Lucia Velos, if you would please select the microphone icon, you may proceed with your comment.
Sí, buenas tardes a todos.
Yes, good
Pues,
evening, everyone.
nuevamente estamos aquí para
Here
que
we are again,
viendo cómo
seeing
hacer estrategias
how to
como ICE lo está
form
haciendo para
strategies,
atacar a la comunidad migrante.
just like ICE
¿Por qué no
is
también
doing to
uno
attack the
buscar la
community,
forma de
the immigrant
protegerlos,
community.
verdad?
And
Y si esto es
we're trying
necesario,
to
pues
find
hay que
ways to
hacerlo.
protect people.
Y
And
si
if
tiene
this
que
is
cancelar,
necessary,
pues
we have to
hacerlo.
do it. If you have
Claro
to
que no sea
cancel a
fácil, pero
contract,
en lo que está este gran
do it.
problema,
It won't be
pues
forever,
vamos
but
quitándolo.
right now,
Creo
this is a
que
big problem and we need
somos
to
comunidades
stop it.
que
We are
trabajamos
communities
día a día, que
who
salimos
work
adelante,
every day
que
to get
buscamos la
ahead.
vida de una otra manera, que no estamos
We
aquí,
are
que claro,
looking
no todos
for
somos
a
delincuentes,
better
no todos
life.
somos
We're not
perseguidos en
criminals.
nuestros países y venimos
We're
aquí
not
a
all,
buscar problemas.
we're not all
Creo que
persecuted in our countries and
muchos
coming
de
here to make
nosotros,
trouble.
pues,
Many of
desgraciadamente estamos
us,
corriendo ese riesgo.
unfortunately, are running a
Y si hay
risk
maneras de
now. And
poderlo
if there is a
evitar de una
way
otra manera, así como
to
ellos
avoid that,
buscan estrategias, pues también nosotros,
please look for
también nosotros,
strategies
ustedes como
for
autoridad,
us.
poderlos truncar,
You,
porque
as
vamos
the
a hacer
authorities, you
mil y una
can
formas
cut this off.
para que
So there are many
caigamos
ways
en las trampas de ellos.
that
Es
we can
bien
fall into their
difícil
traps. It's
para los
really
que no
difficult
tenemos un estatus
for
legal,
those of us who do not
que
have legal
queremos hacer las
status.
cosas bien, pagamos nuestros
We want
impuestos
to do the right thing. We
y que
want
vivimos
to pay our
honradamente.
taxes,
Imagínense que de la
and
noche a la
we live an
mañana
honorable
paren a mi
life. And
esposo
can you imagine
y por su simple hecho
from
de
one
que es
day to the next,
morenito, por su
they
tez, por
stop
su
my
piel,
husband just because he
¿qué voy a
is
hacer
darker
yo?
skin?
Mis hijas,
What will I do? And my kids,
no
my daughters.
tenemos algo concreto en nuestro país, venimos
We
huyendo
don't
de la
have
violencia,
anything
venimos huyendo de todo
in our
esto
countries
y para
waiting for
encontrarnos
us.
aquí
We
y que
have come
también nos
here
vengan
for a better life.
persiguiendo, pues ¿a dónde vamos a
And
parar?
to
Es
find
triste
ourselves
la situación que estamos
chased
viviendo,
here as
pero yo
well,
sé
it's
que
really
ustedes van a
difficult. It's
tomar la
very
mejor
sad.
decisión. Y
But
si
I
ese
know that you
presupuesto
will
al momento de ya
make
no
the right
pagar eso, pues
decision.
entonces inviértanlo en la vivienda
And
con las familias que están
if
siendo
you get rid of
afectadas,
that, take
que
that out
muchos
of the
han dejado
budget,
de
you can
trabajar,
you
otros
can
han perdido
invest
su
that money
trabajo,
in
que de verdad estamos en una
housing
crisis
because
tremenda.
we are really in a
Primero
huge
salimos a
crisis.
buscar para la
We're
renta, para los biles,
afraid to go out and try to
pues
figure
¿por
out
qué
how to
no
make money
usar
to
ese
pay our
poquito
rent?
presupuesto
Why
que
don't
se
you
van a
use
ahorrar
that
de estos
little
programas que se están
piece of the
cancelando, de
budget
estos eventos? Pues úsenlo con su
and
comunidad,
everything, the events that are
que
being
nosotros
canceled
los
and
hemos
everything, use
acogido
it
de
for
tal manera
the community.
a todos ustedes y que los hemos
We
puesto
have
bien en
supported
alto.
all of you and we
Gracias.
ask that you support us now. Thank you.
Zoom ID Melody Cuevas, if you would please select the microphone icon.
Hi.
Hi, you may proceed with your comment.
Okay. My name is Melody, and it's been a privilege to have been raised in Southeast LA and serve Bell Gardens through organizing efforts with California Latinas. Today, I am asking and urging the city to immediately cancel its contract for automated license plate readers in order to protect immigrant families and vulnerable members of our community. In recent months, we have witnessed increased surveillance, targeting, and brutalization of our community. These actions tear apart the psyche of our residents. It's no question that everyone is fearing if they're next. ICE is present and active in our community, and the use of ALPR technology only adds to this climate of fear and intimidation. Personally, as just a member and being part of the community, I did witness a lot of immigration customs enforcement officers when it was reported by Unión del Barrio that there were 200 agents in the city of Bell, which was only about, I would assume, less than a mile of Bell Gardens, in that specific military zone. And that honestly made me really afraid for the community members. And I see the way that our city is looking like a ghost town. And it just really breaks my heart. And the the authorization or the permission to have these license plate readers will continue to really devastate the community. It poses a really significant threat, and data collected through these systems has been used and can be used by immigration enforcement, which overall continues to jeopardize the livelihoods of undocumented individuals and their families. And no resident should have to live in fear that driving to work, to school, or grocery store could lead to their detention or deportation. And while I really do appreciate the ongoing efforts the city is doing to support our immigrant communities, ending this contract would solidify further your commitment to the well-being of Bell Gardens. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mayor, that was the last virtual comment.
Thank you for that, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council, I would like to close public participation on agenda items, and I would like to go back to public participation on non-agenda items and reopen it. And I'd like to call up, if there's no objection, great, I'd like to call up Grace Estrella Salcedo.
Hello again. Okay, so my name is Grace Estrella Salcedo, and I am here with Communities for a Better Environment. And we form part of the tenant outreach and education for LA County and the Sela communities. And as you've heard from my colleagues we've heard from many residents that are unable to work due to the fear of ICE. And we've seen our streets become, like someone else said, ghost towns. Vibrant businesses are now empty. Business owners are fear of losing their tenancy because they are unable to pay their rent. So what I'm here for is to ask for you to please put in the state of emergency to stop evictions, both of our residents and our commercial residents. And I support this ordinance because it protects tenants and helps keep families together during this time of crisis. And sorry, I lost my place. So we just want to ensure that our tenants are protected and this economic hardship that our community is facing. We urge you to please put in this state of emergency because it is vital to those affected in our cities, specifically here in Bell Gardens. And please stand with the working class and the renters that are facing a dual threat of racial profiling and displacement. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that. All right, I would like to close public participation on non-agenda items and move on to external number 8, external committee updates. Does any member of the council have anything to report out from the external committees? All right, seeing none. In regards to external committees, I'm trying to think if we have had anything else. No, that wouldn't be external because it's not a committee. Okay, moving on to Ms. City Manager. Your report, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Chavez. Since our last regular council meeting on June 23rd, so it's been about 4 weeks, In that time span, we've had two special council meetings, one at the end of June and one on July 16th, both of them to discuss issues involving immigration issues. At the last special meeting on July 16th, council approved updates to the legislative platform, which have been accomplished, adoption of a resolution, submission of a FOIA request, and authority to seek joining a lawsuit with other cities to stop certain federal immigration enforcement activities and tactics. Most of these, just from a staff perspective, that can be done, have been done. As far as the lawsuit, just an update, the city attorney's office and the pro bono law firm, we're focused on some other priority matters related to the existing lawsuit. We just got notice today that they expect to file the joinder later this week that would essentially request that the city become part of that lawsuit as well, along with other cities. Also, since that last council meeting, staff have been very busy with the Food Essential Services Program, monitoring federal immigration activities in Bell Gardens and nearby areas, hosting school supply giveaway, neighborhood watch meetings, hosting the Mexican consulate at the Neighborhood Youth Center, hosting immigration workshops, running summer programming at the parks, which is normally what we do, working on the dog park, continued construction of the aquatic center, coordination of a strategic plan, making infrastructure improvements, and also PD always answering calls for services. Since that time also, there's been a lot that's gone on. Our major events like 4th of July, concert movies at the parks have been canceled through this week with plans for future events tentatively starting to open up again next week with a National Night Out. That's Tuesday, August 5th, and a movie night at Veterans Park. That's this Thursday, August 7th. And then also with a mayor's town hall meeting this Wednesday at 7 p.m. at Veterans Park. So just wanted to update council and anybody listening, residents, businesses, as to just some bullet points of the things that have gone on since the June 23rd meeting. It feels like it's been two or three months, and there's been a lot that's been happening. Circling back to tonight's consent calendar before we move on to the discussion items, the consent calendar is pretty lengthy considering we did not have a meeting in the earlier part of June. There are several items of interest for residents, business stakeholders of Bell Gardens, including an item to ensure more complete environmental compliance in the city of Bell Gardens by the city, historic preservation and grant funding, granting of a right-of-way for the Gateway COG for a fiber optic network that they're bringing to Bell Gardens free of charge, revenue generating one-time lease agreement for water rights that aren't being used as our pump is shut down, disabled persons parking designation, an extension of the funding agreement for improvements that are on Eastern and Garfield intersection, where both those streets come together, just north of Southgate at the southern part of Bell Gardens, an amendment to our engineering services contract, certification of the sewer system management plan, and continued DUI education and checkpoint grant funding. So as you can see, this consent calendar has a significant number of items, significant dollars, significant things that will improve the lives for the residents of Bell Gardens. So with that, I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much for that, City Manager. Can't believe it's been a month since our regular council meeting. June 23rd, I think you mentioned. Yeah, it's
June 23rd.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right, if there's no objection, we can go ahead and move on to consent calendar. Does any member of the council wish to pull any items from the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Barson and a second by Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. Can we do just a quick voice one? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. All right, we'll go ahead and move to item number 11.1, which is local commissions appointment. Does any member of the council have any changes they want to make to their commissioners? Adding changes? No? Okay. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on to 11.2, which is the automated license plate reader. Ms. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Chavez. This item is a receive and file. This item was requested a couple of weeks ago. Initially was potentially going to be discussed at the special council meeting, but for several reasons was moved to this regular council meeting. And the purpose is to make sure that the city council understands and everybody is on the same page. As far as the automated license plate readers, the company that we contract with for those readers is called Flock. So on your time on the dais here, you probably have heard people reference Flock cameras. The Flock camera picked up this, the Flock camera picked up that. The purpose of this item by our police chief here will be to give you an update of just what these readers are, what they're used for, and then to have a discussion. We'll be free to answer any questions, or free to ask questions. We'll be here to answer any questions. With that, I'll turn it over to our Chief Camacho. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Honorable Mayor Jorge Chavez and Mayor Pro Tem Miguel de la Rosa and members of the City Council. So tonight I will be presenting our use of automated license plate reader, also known as LPR, by the Bell Gardens Police Department. So approval by City Council on February 27, 2023, the City Council of Bell Gardens approved a 3-year lease agreement, including 2 one-year optional extensions with Flock Safety, Inc. This includes 23 ALPR cameras for the Bell Gardens Police Department under resolution number 2023-12. The original agreement period ends in early 2026, and it includes an annual cost of $57,500. The agreement can be terminated at any time for either party's convenience. ALPR technology. The Bell Gardens Police Department utilizes ALPR technology to enhance public safety, assist in criminal investigations, and recover stolen vehicles. This technology has been instrumental in locating suspects involved in violent crimes, identifying vehicles associated with felony investigations, and recovering stolen vehicles. ALPR cameras are strategically located throughout the city to capture license plate data from vehicles on public roads. The use of ALPRs is consistent with the practices across LA County and adheres to applicable state laws. Privacy and data sharing. Community members have raised valid concerns regarding the collection and storage of vehicle movement data, potential use of the data, and the risk of sharing information with federal immigration authorities. Compliance with state law, also SB 54, also known as the California Values Act. Under SB 54, also known as the Sanctuary State Law, local law enforcement agencies are prohibited from using personnel or resources to investigate, detain, or provide information to federal immigration authorities such as ICE. BGPD does not share ALPR data with ICE or federal immigration enforcement unless required by law in connection with serious criminal offenses. The Bell Gardens Police Department has confirmed with our Flock representative that Flock does not share information with law enforcement agencies from other states or with the federal agencies. Transparency and community trust. The Bell Gardens Police Department is committed to maintaining public trust by providing transparency regarding how technology is used, ensuring responsible management of data, and hosting community meetings to listen to residents' concerns. And here is more or less what the camera will capture. It will capture the image of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle type, and whatever unique alterations. And it tells you if it's a frequent visitor, and it gives you that type of information. The cameras that we have in our city, 23 of them, are very similar to this one right here. They could be mounted on this pole with the solar panel. And if we find a secure location, whether it be a street light or an electrical pole, then that's where we'll mount it. But this is really the type of camera at a close caption of it. Again, there are 23 cameras throughout the city. And this concludes my presentation. I will take any questions from City Council.
Thank you so much for that, Chief. Appreciate the presentation. Any member of the council have any questions or comments regarding the presentation?
I can provide a comment here. So I want to mention a recent cancellation of a ALPR program from the city of Austin, Texas, which is about 1 million residents. On June 3rd, 2025, Austin decided to end its use of automated license plate readers. The decision followed revelations that the guardrail policies put in place to prevent the misuse of automated license plate readers data had been violated tens of thousands of times over the course of the automated license plate reader pilot program. So this is after the fact that they try to patch up the security guardrails, as they call them, which is a very concerning point because, as we've seen from this particular case study, it is nearly impossible to control where this data ends up. This information, combined with increasing scrutiny of ALPR contracts with Flock that allowed the company to use that data for nearly any purpose it wished, as well as reporting on the use of the city's ALPR data by ICE and other outside agencies, convinced a supermajority of city council to push back against extending the automated license plate program there in Austin, right? So this is only one of dozens and dozens of examples of how, when there has been an effort to make it work with these types of contracts, it just becomes nearly impossible. Now, we are a much smaller city than Austin, but I think it's safe to say that after everything that they've been through, and I do have some documentation with a lot of background information of everything they try to do, and all the links to all those documents, it still failed to work out. So I feel that today, given that we have a city with so many immigrants, and recently, actually, I just saw a Fox 11 News article that looked at all the cities in California, and Bell Gardens was ranked the 4th most heavily impacted by immigration reports. And what they refer to as immigration reports is basically an incident where there was a raid, right? That number was at about 14 here in the city of Bell Gardens. And the other cities, ironically, were much bigger cities, which means that in a small city like us, we really got it pretty strong and heavy. Now, the biggest concern I have with these systems is where we're at in our history and in our world in terms of immigration and the overreach that we have seen from ICE. It is necessary that we protect those mothers, that we protect the fathers of our families. And for anyone that thinks that this is anyone that thinks that we're just causing fear right now, this is it. This is happening now. We see it with our neighbors. We see it on social media. Every day they are taking our community members. I have not seen a lot of my community members. I happen to be an organizer working with various groups, including meditation groups, including art groups. And all of those members of my community have been hiding in their homes. So they are destroying our communities. And unfortunately, this is a tool that we're leaving on the table for them. And again, I say them because I'm not referring to our police department. I'm referring to federal agencies that are overreaching. I have no reason to believe that our police department is misusing this technology at all. So this is nothing on our police department, but it is a tool that is on the table. It is accessible. It has been proven time and time again that they have been granted access to this data. And as my brother mentioned earlier in the public comment, he is a software engineer by trade. He's extremely successful, works on machine learning algorithms. He understands the technology, and it is an immediate danger to our community. So hopefully you guys will listen to that. I hope that the council had time to review some of the materials that in the conversations that I brought up with them. And hopefully we can make a good decision to protect our communities today.
Thank you for that, Councilman Barceno. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, I would like to make a comment along with a question. So I read in an article that the flock system makes it easier for law enforcement agencies to share data with each other. And once a department grants access to another agency, the outside agency can search the data without needing approval each time. I've seen efforts from Flock, in increasing its transparency. And in one of their pages, it shows somewhat of an audit of Bell PD, and it also shows a long list of external organizations with access to the data that they gather in their vicinity. And the list shows approximately 350 outside agencies, primarily police departments in the region. And my question to Chief Camacho is, do we know approximately how many agencies have access to the flock system in the city?
Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. So the way the system works is when you are a member of the flock camera system, then you pretty much sign an agreement, an MOU, allowing other state agencies to share that information, and we all share that information. And so I would tell you approximately there's about maybe 350 agencies that we share information, but they're all California state law enforcement agencies. And I'll give you the reason why we share information. Say that we have a missing person or a homicide, and all we have is a plate, or all we have is the make and model and the color of the vehicle. We'll enter that information in the system. So if this vehicle goes somewhere up Northern California, then we'll get notified by the system. So that's why you got to share that information. And so sharing with other, California law enforcement agencies is beneficial to the Bell Gardens Police Department, just like it would be beneficial to any, state law enforcement agency. Does that answer the question?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. Good point. Anybody else want to chime in? Councilwoman McGee?
Yes, so I appreciate you sending the articles over. I do want to know, you mentioned that SB 54, covers the sanctuary state aspect and the communication is amongst California, right?
Yes.
Okay. I do want to share that during the fires in the Palisades, I was out helping a few council members from City Valley, and they did ask me if we had flat cameras because a lot of the looting was going on. And I know I was able to answer, we do. And they had that reassurance. So I just wanted to share that. And I also want to ask if you're able to share, have there been any investigations recently that have been successful because of the flat cameras?
Yes. Councilwoman Isabel Guillen. So I could tell you in the month of July, we had about 26 stolen vehicles recovered because of the flock system. About 2 weeks ago, there was a homicide in San Diego, and that vehicle traveled through the streets of Bell Gardens and they hit our flock camera system, and we were able to stopped the vehicle and detained the murder suspect who was taken into custody by San Diego PD.
Okay, thank you. And I would also like to ask, should the council, make a decision, what would be the substitute for flock cameras, if there's any?
One more time?
Should the council reach a decision, what would be the substitute for flock cameras,
Well,
if any?
Yeah, there wouldn't be any. Yeah.
And how would that affect PD work?
Well, in talking to residents, I understand what they're asking, and I understand that there's a lot of fear. And so when I talk to them, look, I can't give them 100% reassurance that, the data is not going to be breached. That's across this nation, across this world. Nobody knows, right? Like if my credit card is going to be hacked or my, my phone bill, whatever that is. But I do reassure them that we have parameters. And if I could go into details, so there is a system that we have at the Bell Gardens Police Department so you have an administrator and then you have different groups. So because we're such a small police department, I only have 4 groups within the system. And some of those groups could only get notified. They're not able to access the system unless you work a specialized detail.
Okay, I'm just trying to visualize. So let's say flock cameras were to be removed, right? It would be, we don't have the manpower to place, an officer in every inch wherever the flock cameras are to kind of read these plays. It would just be, right?
Yes, so that's part of it. The other part is that, say we have a critical missing or we have a, high profile case, a violent crime. If I could enter whatever information I have from the vehicle, then it allows us to track that vehicle without putting manpower. So we could enter that vehicle, and if that vehicle leaves Bell Gardens, so it goes into Downey, goes into Orange County, it goes up to Northern California, that flock system will alert the investigator that that vehicle's going around those areas. So that's how we leverage technology to help us, and in essence, really the manpower that you would need in order to do that.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
If I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just like to interpret in my own way what this conversation that just happened. So the flock system and the ALPR is literally like a superpower, right? It is collecting data at a very high rate. In what I've learned, less than 1% of the data that it collects and processes results in some type of lead or criminal detection or something useful. Now, to make that possible with humans, it's basically impossible. We would have to hire maybe, it's unrealistic, right? We would have to hire dozens of police officers always staring at the license plates. So it is like a superpower, right? But the question is, what is the cost of it, right? The cost is not just what we pay for it. The cost is literally the safety of our community. Them being tracked, them having that information being shared with federal agents, ICE. And when I say that information, I don't just mean like, oh, so-and-so lives here. I mean patterns, their schedule of the week, where they are at 1 p.m., where they are at 7 p.m. That is the biggest problem, right? We're giving it served on a platter at that point. So the cost is not the $160,000 for 3 years of service or whatever the amount is. The cost is literally the potential. And as we've seen, the federal government will do it. The potential of them using that tool to easily and economically spending the least amount of money coming and taking our community members and destroying our communities. And that is just something that I'm not willing to pay, right? That is a price that I'm not willing to pay for my community. If we're not able to catch 5 cars that are being stolen, but I'm able to keep actual people, in their communities, I will take the people 100 times over every time, because we're not here to protect property primarily. We're here to protect human lives, especially the human lives of those that are most vulnerable in our communities. And I think we all know that that is the main priority as elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilman Barcena. Anybody else want to jump in?
With this topic specifically, one thing that comes to mind is data and how much of it is being collected. My question to Chief Camacho is about how many days is the data stored in the Flock system?
30 days.
30 days. Just as a comment to the council, I believe we have 23 cameras in the city, and the city of Bell comparatively has a total of 8, according to the Flock safety website, and the amount of vehicles detected in the past 30 days, and this is as of today, is 371,000 vehicles. It's a lot, and and it brings again the question of safety. How Bell Gardens Police Department could be abiding through the laws and regulations of the use of the system, but who is to say that external agencies could be possibly misusing the data? And I think that's a vulnerability in reference to the comment that I made earlier, that outside agencies who have access to that data could possibly misuse it. So that's just a comment and observation based on the information that's publicly disclosed by the Flock safety system.
Thank you for that, Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa. Anybody else want to jump in? Have any more comments? Councilor Barcena?
I do have a comment, something that I want to share with you guys from the contract that we have. And it's just food for thought, right? My background, I went to UC Berkeley for computer science, and then I switched over and did technology and consumer behavior. So I am a little bit of a nerdy techie guy, even though I'm not a software developer like my brother. But having said that, there is this section on our contract called aggregated data. And this section of the contract basically says that they strip some of the identifying fields of what data they collect. So maybe they don't have the person's name, maybe they don't have the person's address, whatever, right? But in this particular clause of the contract, I think we have to be very careful about accepting what they're proposing, because here's what it says. Agency hereby grants Flock a non-exclusive, worldwide, perpetual, royalty-free, and right and license use and distribute such aggregated data to improve and enhance the services and for other development, diagnostic, and corrective purposes, other Flock offerings, and crime prevention efforts, and the list goes on. We are giving all this information that they're collecting, which 99% of that information is not related to criminals. We are giving 99% of this 390,000 vehicles per whatever amount that was. We are letting them have that data basically for free. And these algorithms, this artificial intelligence that is being used is so powerful that they are able to use it for their own business models and resell it, and they're making a profit and selling it to the federal government, et cetera, et cetera. So we need to make sure that we are also aware of the ethical issues with this business model, and that we reconsider using the services and paying for these services. just wanted to bring that to attention. I noticed that the contract is not on the agenda item, but it would have helped. And if this does end up coming back to the council, I encourage everyone to please read section 4.4 of the aggregated data, as even though it says that it removes certain identifying information, from what I understand with my experience in machine learning and artificial intelligence, that information is still very useful in order to provide additional services. And by that, I mean services that can end up impacting our community and having them be targeted. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Councilman Barcena. Anybody else want to jump in? City Manager?
Mayor, if I could just ask the chief, I mean, if you see the contract was approved in 2023, so it's pretty new technology in the city of Bell Gardens. I think I remember when seeing one of the cameras go up, I'd ask a couple of questions when I jogged by it. I wonder if the chief could just give us an example so the council could hear as to what Flock does for law enforcement. How is that done prior to 2023 in Bell Gardens? I mean, I can guess some of it is if there's a vehicle that's stolen, there's some kind of a notice put out and officers just kind of have to look for it. If they see a vehicle that matches that description, or if somebody says there was a child was kidnapped and it was a vehicle that looked like this, and they just optically look for it. Is there anything else that, if the license plate readers go away, how does that process work as far as the things that Flock does for the city currently?
Yeah, Mr. City Manager, I would think we would have to go back to the good old days of doing police work and just, going based on what our detectives are looking for, putting out, be on the lookout flyers, passing information from one shift to another shift. We would only know about the vehicles that were taken by criminals from our agency. We wouldn't know anything in the surrounding agencies. So it would just be, if you observe, whatever you're looking for, then you would get behind that vehicle. You will run the plate via the radio. Dispatch will let you know, hey, there's this vehicle is stolen out of Carson, out of whatever city, and then the traffic stop would be conducted, and that's how we would go about. If we have a critical incident, whether it's a critical missing or maybe a serious violent crime that we're investigating, there would be no way for us to input that information into a system such as this one, Flock, because we would now have to do the teletype like the old days. But the problem is that nobody really pays attention to those teletypes. So that's how we would be able to kind of do police work without Flock. It would just, I think Councilmember Marco Barcena just said it. I mean, that's just like, we're talking about a super machine that is just going to replace, or it's going to take really 100 officers or maybe 1,000 officers to do what it does.
And I wonder, Chief, that I know it was probably intuitive, but I thought it helped. It's not like it's technology that we've had here for 20 or 30 years. The other question I thought, or information that might be helpful, and I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but a lot of the examples I think are recovering stolen vehicles. That's what, I think Councilmember Barcena brought that up. I think some of the examples you gave, that's sort of a natural example, is recovering stolen vehicles. I'm going to assume that must be in the 90-some% of like Flock hits, or whatever term you use, are recovering stolen vehicles as opposed to other crimes.
I would say the majority of the Flock hits that we get are stolen vehicles, but I would say it depends, because Flock is used by other law enforcement agencies for many purposes. For example, if you have a warrant, if you have an arrest warrant for someone, you could enter that information because you have their vehicle license plate. If you have an investigation, whether it's retail theft, but you have that license plate, you could enter that. There's just so much you could do with this system that it all falls within the different categories that the system allows you to input that information.
If I may, City Manager, and I appreciate the chief bringing that up, because that is actually the problem, right? It's such a powerful tool and it can be used for so many different things in so many different ways that it's like a double-edged sword. That is a main reason why this is such a risk factor for vulnerable communities like Bell Gardens, where we have a lot of immigrants, and we've seen ICE raids targeted towards. Now, another thing about it, right, is 2023 when we started using Flock,
Yes.
right? So that was about 3 years ago, a little less than 3 years ago. You know, again, I hate to take away a tool. I know that it's a tool, and I know that you guys use it for good. The problem is it's very, very powerful, and I think it's beyond our, honestly, our control, as we have seen with Austin, right? 1 million people living in one city, and the council members there and the police department had to go back to before Flock, right? So just wanted to highlight that. Thank you.
And Mayor, if I could just sum up, I think from, conversation I had with the police chief on it and some of the items on here, and also that Councilman Barcena referenced regarding the contract. So the contract's up in the early part, I think February of 2026. It is cancelable at convenience. There are some charges, the way the language is that we're still analyzing, but it looks like, if you cancel it, there's probably some net charges you'd end up paying through the end of the term, essentially, but no other real penalties beyond that. You're kind of locked in for this period here. Even if you cancel it, there's some charges that flow. So, and then after that, so really, I think we just want to provide the information, make sure all the council understood the agreement, the number of cameras, what it's used for, and if the council wanted more information, more detailed information, I'm sure the police department could provide. I don't know how helpful that would be or not. And with that, I thank the chief for not trying to oversell the product and just laying out the information as it is, so that council can make an informed decision.
Mr. Cal, if I could just say a couple more things. If we decided to go without, we're canceling our agreement, it would be just what the rep is saying, that they would charge us about $800 to take down each of the cameras. I understand exactly the concerns of city council. I understand the concerns and the fear from the community. So I'm really neutral here. I understand both sides. And I'm here to just support really what's the right thing for our residents. So I just wanted to make sure I'm on record for that.
Thank you so much, Chief, for the objective information. Just out of curiosity, if you know from the top of your head, how many hits does our Flock system collect in a month, average?
Yeah, I don't know.
Roughly.
I mean, I would have to get back to you on that, but just imagine the amount of vehicles coming in, especially in our busy hours. So let's just go from 6 a.m. all the way till like maybe 1, and then it starts again from 3 all the way up to 7. I would say we're close up in the hundreds. Yeah.
Right. Just out of curiosity, just because we're right there by the 710 entrance and exit. It's Florence. We're in a key point, right? Where
Yes,
there's so much traffic for the southeastern region. So yeah, thank you. And I guess just out of a rough estimate, if it costs about $800 to remove 23 cameras, it would total out to close to 19,000.
Yeah, that's 19,000 plus some other fees that the representative was talking about. And if we decided that we're going to pause and we're going to come back and hopefully things are better in the future, then we would just have to pay again the installation fee one time, and then we would go into a different contract, because now it's I think it's something like 500 and something per camera, or maybe 675 per camera. So we're in that 2023 deal. So I don't know if we would get that, but they would come down, take all their equipment, And then if we're interested in doing this agreement in the future, then we would just pay the installation fee one more time.
Thank you, Chief.
Sure.
Anybody else want to chime in on this? All right, I appreciate the discussion. I did a bit of a research, really quick right now, and I was looking at the different agencies that have this system throughout the county. And it's interesting because, you know, it laid out, the website I was just Googling was called Atlas of Surveillance. I think that was the website. And it just had, yeah, atlasofsurveillance.org, and it has a list of cities, and they break down different sort of tools that are at the disposal of our agencies to use, right? So like they had one where they were able to break down data for like agencies that use body camera, you know, body cams. They had agencies that use the flock system, drones, etc. And I did a quick math, and out of the 88 cities that are here within the city of the county of LA, I think 48 of them have the flock, and then there's 40 that don't, right? So you know, some of them were a bit surprising to see that they didn't have it. You know, cities that particularly pertain to the Gateway region being like Artesia, Cerritos, Commerce, Compton, Cudahy, Hawaiian Gardens, Lakewood, La Mirada, Linwood, Maywood, Paramount, you know, so it's, trying to see what other cities nearby. I think those were for the most part Santa Fe Springs and Rosemead, towards San Gabriel. So I noticed that there are some cities that have flock systems and then some that don't. Is there a reason why cities, some of them don't have it?
Yes, Mayor. A lot of those agencies that you just mentioned are going to be contracted through the LA County Sheriff's Department.
So, I mean, I don't know how it works in terms of like with the sheriffs, but do cities that have that are contract with the sheriffs don't have flock systems?
It's totally up to the demands of the city council if they think it's beneficial. But I think one of the things that I've seen, at least in talking to my peers, is that when you go into an agreement like this, then you got to have those safety measures. And if they don't have someone that's going to oversee that, they just won't do it, because it also adds a lot of personnel. Like I have a lieutenant, so the way it's structured in our department is the administrator is a lieutenant, and that lieutenant reports to the captain, and then under the administrator, then he controls and he could see the different ways that the system's being used. There's training that's involved. So a lot of these agencies are, you know, they don't have the funding, they don't have the manpower, so they just won't go into agreements.
Got it. I appreciate that. I'm trying to see, you know, and you're right. All of these cities that I mentioned don't have their own PDs. That there are some of them that kind of maybe they do have, but I'm not too sure as far as like why they chose not to make. I mean, I'm thinking like a city like Inglewood. I don't know if there's Inglewood PD or not, but I would assume. I don't know. Is everything okay?
Yeah, no, he was just showing me some stuff. Pretty much the same information you gave me.
Oh, the Atlas surveillance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it was an interesting site that has a lot of that data compiled. So yeah, I mean, I was surprised. Just 48 cities have flock system, and then there's 40 that don't. And then also it also included school districts and not school districts, but like for example, like campus, you know, like USC's DPS and stuff that have their own police agencies and their access to that. So I know that they have it there too.
Well, when you look at the city of Bell, I mean, it's really almost the same size city as Bell Gardens, but we have 23. They only have like 8 or 10 cameras. And I could tell you it's because of the funding. I mean, so they only have one camera where either captures a vehicle going in or another camera captures a vehicle leaving the city. We have, in our locations, we have both vehicles entering and vehicles leaving.
On both sides of the intersection, which is key.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that costs money to have 2 cameras at that specific location.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Anybody else want to chime in on this?
Just to inform the council where I'm at. The contract ends in about 6 months and a half. And looking at the cost to it, close to 20,000. Then to weight it off at 6 months, would we still have to pay let's say we want to terminate the contract at the end of the agreement, which is in 6 months, would we still have to pay the disinstallation fee and all those other associated costs, or it just terminates and then there's no cost?
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem De La Rosa. So according to our flock representative, if we cancel the contract, they're gonna come out and they're gonna remove their cameras, and that comes with the fee. And if we were to ever go back, whenever that time is ready, then we would be charged again the installation fee.
I think Mayor Pro Tem, what you're asking though is if the contract just lapses in February, is there a fee? I don't believe that's the case. I believe if we just let the contract in February, I believe the contract states that those fees are incurred if you cancel the contract, not just let the contract run out. So we'd have to look at that.
I haven't reviewed the contract, so I don't want to speak into it, but we could.
Just as a non-attorney cursory review of it, when the contract ends, they would come and pick up their cameras. If you cancel the contract for convenience, that's where the fees are involved.
Gotcha.
It seems like there's some uncertainty on that because, prior to the meeting, I did talk to the city manager and he informed me that the cost of canceling, this is an estimate, a rough estimate, would be more or less the same amount that we have already paid for the remaining of the contract, which is February of 2026. So basically what I understood before this meeting was if we would cancel this contract, it would be like we didn't cancel it in the financial sense because we would still be, having to pay that amount. But what I'm hearing now is that this amount is actually greater with the camera fees that the chief mentioned. Is that correct?
The one thing that I think, Councilmember, that when we're talking with them, we haven't given them a formal cancellation request with an actual reconciliation because there is some language that says offset against residual value of the cameras. So let's say the cameras are worth $800, so they charge us $800 per camera. It does say that there's an offset for residual value of those cameras. So I think, probably when they're talking with us, they're going to maybe on the surface give us, it's $800 per camera. And until there's an actual request for a calculation, they're not going to have run numbers to determine, oh, but there's a $250 credit because there's a residual value of those cameras. We can redeploy them. So I think, and I always preface too with, in the scheme of our general fund budget, we don't want to spend money on anything we don't have to spend money on, but there would be some offset according to that agreement based on the residual values.
Thank you for explaining that.
So I guess just to break it down, so is it cheaper to cancel the contract right now or just let it kind of cancel on its own in February?
Well, from a cost perspective, the contract would just end. If we don't renew the contract for the extra 2 years, the contract's over. It says when the contract's up that they gather up their equipment and move on. So I think from a dollars perspective, you go till the contract ended and then they're responsible for getting their cameras. But obviously that doesn't address the concerns over the next 6 months regarding the data. But that's not the question. The question was from a dollars perspective, we would need to find out what would the offset cost be. So I think based on the questions that are here, if I don't know that we even need council direction for it, for us to ask Flock for an official calculation of cancellation if we pick a date certain, such as August 15th or September 1st or some certain date where we say if we were to cancel the contract for convenience, what is the net cost or refund to the city of Bell Gardens would really be the only way we could give a direct answer, because I know there is an offset. Even if the cameras are worth $1, there'd be a $1 times 23 for us to get the correct dollar amount. That's something that I guess I could just say it outright. I think in talking with the chief and talking with the city attorney, that we will do as staff is to make an official request from Flock to say, what is the calculation for it? I suppose unless the council gives us some direction, otherwise it says don't do that. I don't think we're going to hurt Flock's feelings or anything by asking for such a calculation.
No, I think I could definitely do that for the city council.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chief Camacho and Mike for clarifying. But then again, it also brings another question, right? Would it be worth it? And I say that just because, I mean, it's just been 7 months since I came into council, but within those 7 months, we've seen such a drastic change in and nature of the federal administration, and I think I've seen things shift from day to day, and 6 months is quite a long time if you put into perspective. But that's currently where I'm at. But it would be very helpful to see the somewhat more of a solid number. But yeah, it's a lot of pressure in that sense.
I do want to add my 2 cents. So I know that there's a number being thrown up out there at most like 20,000 or something like that, correct? Even if that was the worst case scenario in canceling this contract, the lives of our residents don't have dollar signs attached to them, to me, right? So even one person that we can save from being targeted with this technology, as we ramp up into increased ICE funding, as we ramp up into detention facilities being opened up, to me, I even feel disgusting talking about $20,000 and the safety of our residents at this level. So that's not to offend anyone, and please don't take it that way, but just recalibrating my morals, my ethics, and my values. To me, it's a no-brainer, but I would like to ask if we can please bring that contract back, and if our legal can have our backs, making sure that we're not being overcharged for any of those items based on the agreement that we have with Flock. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the discussion. This is one of those interesting items because, I understand both sides to it, in terms of how it could be a tool for our law enforcement, but at the same time, how it's being used against our community, right? So, I'm thinking, and I'll go ahead and take it like 2 years ago when my car was stolen, right? And I felt like it really got me frustrated, and I couldn't believe it because I had never been hurt to that extent of like my own personal, like it's something that you see or, maybe you happen to hear about it, but when it happened to me, I was like, I'm still to this day, I'm still traumatized when I go outside and I sometimes don't see my car, and I'm like, it just throws off your whole day and your whole, like, it's just something that stays with you. And I remember luckily at the time, and this is a while, like 2-3 years ago now, almost to the day too, it was in the month of July when this happened. It really shaped a different perception of how I saw like a tool like this and how much of an asset it can be. So I understand that perspective. While at the same time, to Councilman Barcena's point and the consistent amount of research, and by no means am I an expert when it comes to this field, but it is a little frightening to know just how much data is out there being collected, right? I don't know if anybody happens to be like, sometimes they're on the phone or maybe they're having a conversation, and next thing you know, they scroll on Facebook or Instagram, and all of a sudden that item that you were just talking about happens to pop up, right? And it's one of those things where it's like, how did they know, or how do you know that's happening? So when you download an app, it'll sometimes tell you, at least on the iPhone or on the Apple products, they'll say like, do you want it to track you? Or it'll say like, oh, it'll give you 2 options, and one of them, the first one's like, ask app not to track. It's like, it's just an ask. It's not even guaranteed that they won't track you. So I mean, I think about this, and to Councilman Barcena's point, where we are and the amount of funding that's coming down the pipeline for an agency like ICE and Border Patrol and just all these agencies that are really going to take it to the next level in terms of enforcing, going door to door, right? I'll take it one step further. Yesterday at Mass, to our chief's point, right? You mentioned, Chief, one of the things that you mentioned in the statement, and I appreciate you going to different congregations throughout the city, at the different faith-based organizations, and you made a point that now they're going to start transitioning, going from door to door, right? Instead of doing this mass, just going after people in public places. So they're going to be more strategic to that extent. What I'm afraid is, if they're going after folks, like, they need to be able to identify themselves. They need to be able to have the proper documentation, because they're not giving that information, right? And that's what's very frustrating for me, for everybody, that we have rights and our rights are being violated. Now, for someone, average residents, someone like my parents, someone that perhaps doesn't fully, I'm thinking maybe folks that are to the extent of like being able to really digest what's being tracked on a phone or on a tablet, it is frightening. It is frightening. So, I mean, I understand, and I wish Councilwoman Dr. Franz de Leon was here also to give that input too, because I'm pretty sure she also feels some type of way when it comes to a topic like this. Because again, we're stuck in this side, because I can see how it can be used as a tool, but at the same time, I can see how it's being taken advantage of in this point. I'm glad that Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa brought up that in 6 months or 7 months between now and February, this is going to be, we can end the contract there. But to then Councilor Barcena's point, it's like, well, are we going to wait 6 months and just wait more people to be taken? Right.
And I don't want to talk too much because I already talked too much, but I do want to say that it is very concerning, and it's not just the flock system, right? We have social media platforms that have basically collected all kinds of data on every one of us. And as you all know, I don't know if you're aware, but executives from Meta, OpenAI, and other cutting-edge tech giants have been deputized into the army, right? So there is this huge blur between the private and public sector. It is a concern for the privacy of you, your kids, our council, our residents. Why? Because these are the same companies that are now part of the government. So there's a blur there. And the data that they have collected, they've had it for profit purposes. I'm sure they were selling the chief maybe like a cool gun or something like that. But unfortunately now, all of that can potentially shift into what we've already seen this administration doing, which is targeting our people, our residents. At the end of the day, we know that these detention centers are made of huge contracts with private entities. And I don't remember who mentioned that. I think my brother did. These are publicly traded entities, right? It's a for-profit business. So if you can connect the dots, it's a profit-making scheme. And I just want to protect my community from that, right?
Thank you for that. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I think time is of the essence, especially like how we've seen this administration go rogue these past 7 months. It's pretty urgent, considering the fact that if they're willing to violate various points of of the Constitution, what's holding them back from violating data privacy rights, and it's difficult to balance it in this situation, because you're looking at a tool that's very effective for law enforcement, but then again, it could be very destructive if used in a negative manner, right? So I would love to see the cost of removing dismantling the flock system, and then seeing if it would be possible to execute, or have another thorough conversation about this.
When I think of the invasion of data privacy and all that, my mind jumps to the phone. we sign away so many, we give it away. We give away so much information, face, ID, all of that, credit cards, anything. Right now, you mentioned talking about protecting our community, which I'm 100% with you on that one. Every life is valuable, right? So I think about that one homicide, the one that you were able to take. And so I'm also troubled with information, and I really wish our colleague was here to kind of help us also dive into this conversation. But if we're talking about, again, the data being given, there's also a protection clause that we're doing by having these flock cameras in our community. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much. So I think, City Attorney, I know you wanted to jump in on this.
Just gonna say, based on the conversation and the request that I've heard from several council members, what we can do is, the chief can get that information for you all. And then we can agendize it for the next council meeting so that you all can discuss again, with all 5 council members, having the information, having the numbers. And then at that point, you can all direct staff as to whether you want to continue forward with the contract or you want to give direction to terminate. But at least you'll have that information at that point.
If possible, that's something that I like. Now, my other question is, if we decide to take action at that point, would there be another meeting that we would have to have?
No, we would agendize it as a discussion of continuance of agreement or termination.
Okay, and I do want to say that I made some efforts to organize for this particular meeting. I only worked on it 2 days, so just be ready to hear more of your community for the next meeting.
I love to organize. That's what I'm about. So I appreciate it, and I think I don't know if there's direction that needs to be done in terms of just bring this item back for the next council meeting.
We have our direction, city manager.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So if there's no objection, we will go ahead and move on to the next item, being city council and successor agency comments. I'll go ahead and start off with Councilman.
We're missing one item, Mayor. 11.3.
Oh, 11.3. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, wait, should we go on that recess?
Mayor, if we can take a recess, we have one interpreter today. If we could do a 10-minute break, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry for all the interpretation in the back.
Mayor and members of the council, the meeting is now being live streamed.
Thank you so much for that, City Clerk. Moving on to item 11.3. Ms. City Manager, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Chavez. This item is a fiscal year 24-25 year-end card room revenue update. So we've given a couple updates to the council over the last 6 to 9 months. And we finally got the month of June. So we've got a full year to show you, and then some other information to present to you as well. I will turn it over to Manuel Carrillo, our Director of Finance and Administrative Services, to go through a presentation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, this evening we'll be providing a card room revenue update for fiscal year 24-25. Now, on June 9th of this year, the city adopted the fiscal year 25-26 general fund budget. And as part of that presentation, a year-end 24-25 general fund projection was provided for both revenue and expenditures as of June 9th. This evening, we'll be providing a projected update as of today, July 28th. And on June 9th, we projected a general fund revenue to come in at about 43.1 million, with expenditures projected to be 46.6, resulting in a projected deficit of about 3.4 million. As part of a further analysis and monitoring, as of today's report, we project general fund revenue to come in at about 42.7 million and expenditures to remain at about 46.6, as previously projected, now resulting in a deficit of about 3.9 for the end of 24-25. Now, as part of the city's annual year-end closeout process, revenue categories are closely monitored. Actual year-end figures are confirmed to facilitate this closeout process. Now, at the time of this report for fiscal year 24-25, card room revenue figures have been confirmed and identified. The table on the slide provides a side-by-side comparison of the fiscal year 23-24 and 24-25 figures. And as you can see, the reduced amount of card room revenue for 24-25 compared to the prior year.
And Manuel, if you slow there for a minute, about half of the shortfall is from the months of August, September, October, and November. So there's a big concentration there of shortfall, but even still, if you see in the month of June, we think was impacted by the federal immigration activities, not just in the city of Bell Gardens, but even in cities that may be between where some of the customers of the bicycle live, and getting down here to Bell Gardens could have been a challenge with some of the things that were going on. But we're looking at about a $2.8 million shortfall from the year before. And like I said, about half of that is from the months of August through December timeframe.
Thank you. In September 2024, SB 549 was signed into law, allowing tribes to sue private card rooms to stop the play of certain table games. Tribes filed a lawsuit on June 2nd of this year. Judges will decide if private card rooms continue to allow certain table games. Private card rooms believe that these certain table games are allowable, and they will take legal action in defense of the lawsuit. The city's card room JPA is currently working with card rooms, consultants, and industry groups to support the defense of the lawsuit. There are a series of proposed regulatory changes by the California District Attorney General's office, which include changes to what are referred to as third-party proposition player services, as well as, and one of the items is that these games must rotate every 40 minutes, along with other changes as well. Changes to blackjack style games. If implemented, there would be a significant slowdown in the pace of the games. There was a public hearing held this past May 28th and 29th of this year. And our card room JPA is working with card rooms, consultants, and industry groups to oppose the proposed regulations. Staff recommends that the city take the following steps to address and monitor city revenue. Continue to closely monitor card room revenue. Continue to work through the card room JPA. Develop contingencies to address any long-term reductions in card room revenue. and continue to develop additional revenue opportunities. And some items that come up are possible consideration of a 1/4% sales tax ballot measure, which would produce an estimated 1.3 million per year. Retail cannabis, currently there are 5 development agreements currently signed and there are 2 pending. Potential sale of the city water system. We currently have an RFP scheduled for next month, August of 2025, as well as the general fee study for the aquatic center, which is expected to be created at about August or September of this year. And that does conclude our presentation. Be glad to answer any questions that council might have regarding the topic.
And I wonder if I just for summary here, I think obviously, even with our fund balance being what it is in the 30-some million range, after we finish paying for the aquatic center, we'll be into the 17, 18 million range. A $3.5 million shortfall is not something that's sustainable in the long term. So those items that, Manuel, if you could go to the next steps, they're next, and some of them are kind of in the middle there. So this sales tax ballot measure, there's another local city nearby that's putting that on the ballot as a special election. Even though there are costs associated with a special election, the potential tax revenue covers that cost probably in the first 3 or 4 months of that sales tax measure. Retail cannabis, the 2 that are pending have until the 1st or 2nd week of September to sign their development agreements and pay the $100,000 each. So that's important from a fiscal perspective. The 5 that have been processed, they've paid their $100,000 signing fee, if you will, or community benefit in January 1. They'll be required to pay again. But really, they need to be up and running to generate the revenue that's included in this year's budget. The potential sell the water system probably, along with the sales tax ballot measure, has the greatest potential impact of revenue that hasn't already been fully anticipated. Like with the general fee study, we can pretty fully anticipate what that's going to look like. Retail cannabis, anticipate that once those locations are up and running, but the water system and the sales tax stand the chance to make the most impact. The reason with the water system is it would generally sell for a large dollar amount that could then be used to, number 1, pay back the general fund for money that's owed to the general fund from the water system, and then 2, would most likely still generate several millions of dollars of additional funds that could then be used either to shore up the general fund while some of these other things happen, or used to just keep the city afloat. So we're in a spot. I just want to make sure that the council understands, that's a significant shortfall in 1 year. It is, a lot of it is from some one-time work that was being done there. But if we look at the 1.288 million revenue for the month of June, if we assume that was impacted by about a 10% perspective, we'd be looking about a $1.4 million per month, which should be probably our new normal, which is a little bit on the low side from where we had wanted it to be. So this is something we'll continue monitoring and bringing back to council as we move forward. The final thing that I will just say is that first bullet point about the sales tax ballot measure. This is really the first time I think that we've brought this to council, even mentioned it. What's kind of triggered it is just some commentary, some conversation with the city attorney, with our director of finance admin services, and then seeing that a local city is declaring sort of a fiscal emergency and moving forward with doing something very quick on that. So something that we'll put into a little more rigid formula and probably bring back to the council again somewhere in the next few months to consider. So thanks, Manuel, and thank you for the council for your patience there.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for the presentation. Thank you, Director of Admin and Finance. I appreciate it, City Manager, for sharing. And I'm glad to see some of these next steps. I do have some comments, but I want to go ahead and open it up for my colleagues. Great. I am definitely interested in that quarter cent sales tax ballot measure. I think that I remember back in 2020, prior to me being on the council, we had at the time Measure A for the city. And, I wouldn't say that perhaps we should pursue that as a special election, but certainly if we could avoid that cost to bring that item back for a regular general election, which I think would be November 2022, unless we could put it in the primary, but whatever is less costly to the city. And the reason I'm such a big advocate for us taking advantage of this is because if we don't, another agency that currently represents our city can do that, right? Whether that be the county, whether that be a special district. And again, we want to make sure that Bell Gardens sales tax dollars that are spent within the city of Bell Gardens can stay within the city of Bell Gardens, right? And service the residents of Bell Gardens. So for me, that's always top of mind. And it's interesting because, you would think that sometimes, folks on the council, especially if it's the first time, there might not be for taxing more of the community. But in this case, we've been a council that has instead used all of these tax dollars back on the community, right? Through various different, recreation community services, our police, we think of rent stabilization in the housing department that we've staffed up, et cetera, so on and so forth. So, yeah, I would say that if possible, we should definitely consider bringing that item back. And I'm glad that the county did pass, I believe it's Measure A, that allowed us to then tackle on this extra quarter cent sales tax on that. I also wanted to mention, I'm curious about the retail cannabis. And I know that there's two pending. Do we know which of those two are? And then do we know when that deadline is coming up? Because I know we put a deadline for these.
Yeah, the deadline was second week of September, so I won't say the specific date because I don't have it on me. The two that are still pending, Manny's looking right now. It would have been the last two that come through. I just don't recall the names at the moment, Mayor.
Great. Okay. But at this moment, the first 5 have already.
Yes, and they've paid as well. Yes.
Perfect.
The $100,000 community benefit payment.
Okay. All right. Great. Let's see. And then the last one, I know we've had the discussion of the sale of the city water system. And I think I've been sort of haven't been hidden when it comes to this item. I think that the city water system is it's a difficult situation. And my hope it would be that the federal government, obviously not in this situation, but in past administrations, there has been intent to try to help out cities that have had impacted water systems. I know that there was a bill as well at the California State Legislature, authored by it came to the committee of our California State Senator Lina Gonzalez, and I know she was an advocate in regards to cities that had contaminated water systems. But I think it's an amenity, and I think we should try to do our best to keep this service or this amenity to our city, right? And figure out a way that we can continually incorporate it into our future plans, right? And then the final one, the general fee study. I know we talked about the aquatic center. I'm kind of curious, what would go into effect of this general fee study? I mean, would this be the differentiating factor if we're going to charge $1 to go into the aquatic center, or we're going to charge $5 to go in? And I'm kind of curious.
So the first general fee study, so that would be for all of our fees. That would be primarily those fees would come out of mostly community development, some public works, some PD, probably not large dollar amounts for us as individuals, probably not large dollar amounts on a $50 million general fund budget. We specifically mentioned in some of those brackets, some specifics that we're doing. So with the aquatic center fee study, that's just to determine what would reasonable fees be for residents, non-residents that we would bring back to the council, to decide what you want to charge for those services. Those probably for just individuals using the aquatic center, probably not going to generate a significant amount of revenue. For teams or leagues that would potentially use the facility, that's probably where there would actually be some general fund revenue that could help defray some of the costs. But just the average usership would be similar to like the trolley service where, the cost to fully cover one person using the aquatic center is probably cost prohibitive for somebody really to spend the money. But the opportunities there would be from the larger leagues and things like that. So from a dollar perspective running through here, putting them in order, the retail cannabis from an ongoing perspective right now has the highest annual potential benefit We've already included estimates of that in our budget, though. After that, the sales tax ballot measure, we have not included anything like that in our budget. That would be an additional 1.3 million that we've never anticipated, and we don't have built in. So that would be pretty much straight cash flow that could be used for services. And then the potential sell the water system, just a large influx of cash to pay the city back.
Thank you for that, City Manager. Go for it, Sally.
So for those two pending DAs, it's for Zen Garden and Curaleaf, and they are to be executed by September 7th.
Got it. And if September 7th gets here and they have not executed it, what happens to their development agreements or to their CUPs?
It becomes expired because they're not allowed to move forward with it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that.
Just want to clarify, that's a very condensed version. Obviously, we would have to go through different steps to revoke it, but that would trigger that.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, I mean, September, early September, I mean, we're practically already in August. Well, we're not, but we're going to be next week or later this week. So it gives it a month or so, a month and a half. Yeah, thank you again, Legal, for confirming and appreciate that input, City Manager. I would assume, and I might have missed this part, but for example, like the option to sell the water system, that'd be like a one-time kind of lump sum.
Yes, lump sum. And the biggest part would be to pay the general fund back for the water system as a general fund, somewhere in the $7 to $9 million range. And then there would be leftover monies that the council could use to decide for what kind of services or infrastructure that the council want to use for the city residents.
Yeah, absolutely. I take pride in that our little trolley system is only a quarter, right? I think it's a quarter. It's a quarter. Last time I used it was quarter, 50 cents. Depends.
It was 50 cents.
50 cents quarter. I mean, back in the day when I was in high school, you'd get it right there, right outside on Jaboneria and Gage. And it'll take you around the whole journey across the city. It's great. I enjoy it. I love it. And then, for those that don't know, we actually have trolley system now on Sunday too, which is beautiful. And I love that. So I want to thank this council for supporting that. In the last one on the aquatic center, it's an interesting conversation because, to Councilman Barcena's point about what's coming up next and how it's gonna shift, we have a good opportunity with the Olympics being around the corner. And, obviously our city has a really great relationship with the Mexican consulate. So what I'm already thinking is we get the Mexican aquatic team to come and participate and practice in our own aquatic center, since we're going to have an Olympic-sized pool, right? And have them, pay the tab of X amount of dollars that it's going to cost. And I am more than sure that they can afford it. So I think it'd be great for us to update our fees by then. And if it's not the Mexican swimming team, maybe it could be the American swimming team. I don't know. But whichever international swimming team that's listening to this council meeting who wants to join and use our Olympic-sized pool, we're more than willing to accommodate if you'd pay top dollar. Maybe they could pay off the city water system. Anyways, anybody else want to chime in on this?
Yes, if I may, I just want to mention we did talk to someone in a coach, I think it's a swimming coach from Whittier College. Was there any sort of like direction or any potential? Because he was talking about an international team, maybe renting out the pool. Did we get anything? And if not, can we follow up just to see if it's something that we can plug in already? Of course, if we can have a Mexican team, even better. But at this one, we'll take Russia if we need to.
Okay, I don't know about Russia.
No? Okay. Ukraine? Okay.
We'll take Ukraine.
Okay. And then another thing that I wanted to mention in regards to like revenue making opportunities. I did have a question. The 1/4 cent increase, how much? Because I remember when we did the other what is it called? The tax increase, sorry. I remember we had to catch up with a bunch of cities. So that was a good thing for us because we were able to say, hey, this city over here is already at this level. Are we in a similar situation now, Mike?
We're we're probably closer to the leading edge. Off the top of my head right now, I'm only aware of one city that's doing it, but I think it'll be like one or two probably this November, and then you'll start seeing a bulk of maybe 5 to 15 that will show up in 2026. So we probably would be kind of in that early middle of the pack group if we brought that to the voters. If the council gave us direction to bring that to the voters.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add to that, and the reason why that is because the cap opened up with the county bringing a measure. And so before we were capped, we had reached our limit, but now the limit has gone up. So now that we can also bring a ballot measure. And like the mayor said, it's either the city brings it or another agency will bring it and absorb those dollars.
Right, I do remember when we worked on that and we raised money for the campaign. We had to catch up with a bunch of cities that had already done it. So that was like a good way to sell it. But if we're kind of like on the earlier side of things, it might be a little trickier, but might still be worth the effort. An idea that I mentioned in the past, and I know that there's certain restrictions because of the grant funds that we've used on our facilities, is charging for parking, specifically for non-residents. I know that it's sort of like the automatic answer is like, we can't do it because of what we, the funding that we've used, but I want to make sure that we know that we can do it, because I see other cities doing it and I hear that it's a very, very good source of revenue. And I think because we have the sports center and it's so popular in the entire Southeast, we could potentially, look into, especially with a new parking lot that we're about to have, hopefully in the next 2 months. Is that how soon it's gonna come?
Closer to 3. Oh yeah, about 2.5 months. Yes, Councilmember.
Okay, and that's all for this item. Thank you.
All right. Just to get a little bit of more context, on slide number 3, we see that in September of 2024, we did see quite a substantial decrease. And my question is this solely attributed to the fact that the Senate bill was signed into law that month, or are there other external factors?
It was the card room's decision to take on significant construction projects inside of the card room areas that happen to be their high dollar rooms. I think their thought process there was that they would rather take all the pain in a 2 or 3 month period than drag it out over a 6 to 9 month period. And I think the one thing that we can rely on there is as much as we want that card room revenue, they want it as their primary source of revenue. So I don't know what the numbers would have looked like had they dragged that out and done room by room in the high dollar. But they want to make their money as much or more than we want them to make that money as well. So I think that was a calculated risk, and they're looking at things from a long-term perspective, that if things don't go well with these AG rules or with the tribal lawsuit, that they're the place that people want to go to if the market shrinks up, and that those investments that they put in now are going to pay off in the long term. So that was really related to construction, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Mike, because it is interesting to see that big drop in that month, like significantly, almost 50% drop. I don't know if there was discussions between the city or the casino just itself in terms of their management, as far as, maybe strategizing what the better approach could have been to sort of mitigate the impact. I don't know if they even thought about that.
Yeah, they think about their money, I think, quite specifically. Almost maybe, well, I'll just leave it at that. So I think they ran the calculations there and determined that made more sense to get everything done all at one time, as opposed to room by room, which would have just drawn it out. So we would have seen lower numbers for a longer period of time. And I think their thought was in winning those customers back was more realistic if they did it in a short amount of time.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, did anybody else want to make any more points, comments about this item? All right, I'll just finally say, bring it back to the tax measure. I would like to see this item be brought, specifically considering the 0.25% sales tax ballot measure to the council. I think, I want to thank the city manager's leadership, in the last, time a sales tax measure was brought up, because, I don't think any of us were here with the exception of Councilman Barcena. And, at the time, there was a council that was only 4 people, right? And it was a council for 4 people, and it was during the midst of COVID on top of that. And you had a council that was, there was people on the council that were removed by a judge, and it was a very, if we talk about difficult times, they had their difficult times, and, now we're obviously addressing in difficult times. And I would want to acknowledge just leadership and sort of, in a way it's a risk, because you're putting all this effort and time and studies, and, you gotta have to just put it up to the dais and see, hopefully it works out. But thankfully and you needed, I think, the 4 votes at that time too. So thankfully, it was Councilman Barson who was part of that council, and I was glad to see that. And at the time I was still, I think I was I had just started my sort of activism within the community, and then from there I kind of became a candidate, and then so on and so forth. But I understood that it was a key component of having that tax measure passed was the leadership of the council, where we had active members on the council on the dais, whether it was at the time Mayor Cortez or Councilman Barcena, who were actively promoting this measure, doing videos, educating residents about the benefits this could have. So I would encourage the rest of this new council to continue taking that leadership and saying, hey, we need to be for this item, because, as I said, we want to make sure that Bell Gardens dollars that are spent stay within BG, right? And they're going to be turned back into services. So again, at least when it comes to this item, I'm not afraid to say it, like, I'm all in, I'm full supportive of it. And we can tackle it from a multitude of different perspectives, but again, it begins on the council, right? The people trust us, and if we can formulate that message enough where, hey, like I said, bring it back to that slogan, dollars that are spent in BG should stay in BG. So anyways, I'm glad to see this item being brought, and I look forward to perhaps in the future, whenever the time is appropriate, that we bring this item forward and we have that discussion to put it on the ballot. Anyways, anybody else want to chime in before we move on? All right, seeing none, there's no necessary for receiving files, so we'll just go ahead and move on to the final portion, which is the comments. I'll go ahead and begin with Councilman Barson.
Thank you. I want to ask staff, if possible, to bring back to the next council meeting. No pressure. If it's not possible, don't worry about it. But I am interested in getting picture ID cards for residents, right? The benefit obviously is for administrative purposes. People have their resident card, they get their resident discount for whatever service that we're able to offer. The other benefit that I was not aware of, but I learned recently, is that it actually helps for them to have a photo ID if they are undocumented. If the photo ID can show that they've been living here for 2 years, then I think that prevents them from, being targeted for certain reasons. And I don't remember off the top of my head right now, but if someone knows what this is about, please let me know. But I'll find out that information and forward it over to Mike or whoever wants to work on that item. But I do think that item it might be worth it to roll it out as the pool opens up, right? Because the pool, you get in there with a resident discount and all that good stuff. So that's one thing that I'd like to ask, please. And then would you allow me to come back to my comments? I don't have all the items.
Councilwoman Yee?
So very briefly, just want to say thank you to staff. Thank you, council members, and just invite everyone to our National Night Out. It'll be August 5th, right? Tuesday. Time 5:30? 5? Okay, 5 p.m. Thank you.
Sounds good. Mayor Pro Tem de la Rosa?
I want to thank staff and my fellow colleagues for such a productive meeting. And yeah, just want to thank everyone and have a good night.
All right, Councilman Barca.
Right, so I was trying to remember about Fort Park Pool. As you guys know, we are supposed to open in October. I'd like to ask or remind staff that we might need to have like a ad hoc meeting just to make sure like all the details in regards to what the council envisions this ribbon cutting could look like. If we can like get organized. I know you guys probably had it on your calendar already, but I still wanted to put it out there. And also to let the rest of the council know that I'm here if you guys want to, relay any information to discuss with the ad hoc. I want you guys to also be have a say in what this looks like. It's really important, and whatever I can do to make that happen, please count on me. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councilman Barcena. And I'm glad to see that we're having that discussion already, and it's exciting because we've been working on this project since years, almost a decade. So for my comments, I just want to thank everybody for the meeting. Thank all the residents that came out and spoke on behalf of the ALPR system. Want to talk about that topic, and then at the same time about the state of emergency. I do want to make a comment, and I would want to bring this item to the council in regards to seeing if we can declare a state of emergency as a city regarding just the overall situation that we're all experiencing. I think it's no question. There shouldn't be a question whether or not it's an emergency. I mean, people are literally being kidnapped, and I have personally seen it myself, and I've been out there, so I think it's more than powerful, and especially when we see our residents from Well Gardens and residents from Southeast LA trying to tackle and address this issue. So I would want to see this item brought to the agenda for the next meeting. And again, thank the residents that came out. And I'm glad that we're going to bring that discussion back as well, the ALPRs, and see how we can have that discussion in terms of the full contract and just being transparent and cost. I know that there was some questions relating to, hey, if we ended it right now, what would be the cost? And then if we ended it in February, what would be the cost? And also Councilwoman Dr. Frenton de Leon Sanchez was present as well. So again, just discussions, and I think our next meeting is going to be on August 11th, I think. Yeah, August 11th. So it should be good. I did want to reference that study that I think the Councilman Barcena mentioned in terms of areas that were most impacted regarding to ICE. It's no surprise that our city was number 4 on that list. I think number 2 was Pico Rivera, number 1 was Panorama City, and I think another city that was on that list that was number 10 was Southgate, and it's just, you see these stories. I know that today there was an order. I don't know if a city attorney has anything to report about it, but there was a regarding to the TRO, temporary restraining order. I think there was a decision that was going to be made today regarding from the 9th district. I don't know if you've read anything about that.
Or arguments were today.
Got it. And how did that go?
I haven't been notified of any updates. It's just the oral argument portion.
What comes after the oral arguments?
So the 9th Circuit would make a decision as to whether they're going to uphold a TRO or not. And then we received the other update was that the city of LA and our legal counsel is going to be filing on Wednesday. That's the anticipated date to file for the cities to ask for permission to join the lawsuit.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So one of the things that we did that I wish would have gotten out there sooner, but I'm very passionate, and I'm glad that our council decided to take the righteous decision to join this lawsuit along with our neighboring cities that are under attack by this administration. So we got to do it in every shape, way, or form. When we talk about services, we've been on top of that. When we talked about allowing our voices to be heard, we've allowed that from our community. Now we got to do it on the dais, and that's the process we're going to take. And we have other cities that have decided to take that path too, nearby, right? We have cities like Pico Rivera, like Paramount, like Culver City, Beverly Hills, so on and so forth, obviously being led by the city of Los Angeles. So I'm just glad that this is going to be a coalition effort where we have public counsel, Chirla, and so on and so forth. tackling this, because as I mentioned, we've said it for the past couple of meetings, our community is under attack and they're scared. I want to ask our Director of Recreation and Community Services, how was the backpack giveaway this weekend? I know that was our first event, and I did get some questions from the residents saying, hey, I thought events were canceled. What's going on? So I'm curious to know about the attendance and how much supplies were actually given out. Do we still have left over? What are we going to do with them? And so on and so forth.
Good evening, Mayor. Yes, thank you for asking. We had relatively good attendance given the circumstances and the current things going on. We gave away 243 backpacks, which is just about half of what we gave away last year. So we do have some that are left over, obviously, that we'll either use again for next year, or as families approach asking for supplies, we definitely give them those as well. They never go to waste. They will always be used. We had probably about 600 people come through the event total throughout the entire day on Saturday. So it was definitely a successful, well-attended event, especially given the climate of what's going on.
Thank you for sharing that. City Manager, do we have anything as far as summer concerts and movies? Is that still?
So tentatively, we just have scheduled cancellations through the end of this week. So initially we had postponed the mayor's town hall. So we've just advertised that for Wednesday. Thursday, we canceled the event at the park with plans for everything after that being open, which the two are the ones that we mentioned, National Night Out on Tuesday. And then the final Director of Recreation Community Services, it's movie at the park next Thursday, right?
Correct.
So final movie at the park next Thursday, and then after that would be the normal programming, subject to anything else happening that would make that tenuous and.
Excuse me, Mr. City Manager. We also rescheduled one of our concerts at the National Night Out event. So we'll have a band, which we don't typically do at National Night Out, but we'll add a band on Tuesday. They used to be called Anything for Selena's band. It's a Selena tribute band.
Great. I think they were the ones that were going to perform at the 4th of July, or I think they performed last year at the 4th of July.
This year we had a different band scheduled for 4th of July. They were just in our regular lineup for summer concerts. And so one of them that we canceled, and they were available on August 5th. So we'll reschedule them for that day.
Great stuff. I know Councilman Barcena is definitely a huge fan of Corazón de Maná. Corazón de Maná is pretty good. I like them. They're cool. They're cool. So I was a little bit bummed out that we didn't get to hear them. Huge fan of them. All right. Well, if there's nothing else to report, one final thing. All of us on council, we were at NALEO. We attended the National Association of Latino Appointed and Elected Officials. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, this last week. And it was great to see our council together, united, attending such a conference. And there's definitely mixed emotions from this institution like NALEO. It's obviously nonpartisan, and they follow a very strict guide and just their policies and stuff. So I wish they could have been a little bit more made a statement in regards to just this whole immigration situation and really acknowledge this moment. So I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't. But again, we got to do our part. So with that said, there's no objection by the members of the City Council. I'd like to close and adjourn this meeting at 9:18 p.m. This Monday.